Chapter 41-23. Unfortunately, Yu Ming Xian didn't want to listen to Xiaohua's explanation. He continued to talk to himself. Xiaohua, I know your cultivation base is profound. After my senior martial brother and I reported your matter, even the patriarch's eyes shined with splendor. He wanted to rope you in to become an elder of our fragrant religion. He even hinted to me that I must pass this information to you. But I don't know how to tell you. I know my cultivation is shallow and I'm only a junior in front of you. I'm not worthy of a great hero like you. But my heart is sincere and even the moon beast of the Moon Palace recognizes it. I just want to be by your side, even if I can only look at your back. I want to see everything about you, whether it's Ao Xiaoxiu or your name that shook the cultivation world. I just want to see your figure and be proud of you. Alas, miss you. Xiaohua sighed. He clearly remembered that Shui had said the same thing in the past. He opened his mouth and said, You don't understand. What you said, what you thought, can't be considered true love. It's just a kind of longing, a natural closeness to the strong. It's easy for anyone to have this. Maybe after a long time, you'll really understand. You're wrong. Xiaohua. Yu Mingxin interrupted Xiaohua without hesitation and retorted. You're not a woman. You don't understand a woman's heart. You also don't know how women think. We women understand much more than men when it comes to worship and love a person. Maybe I have more longing for the elders of my fragrant religion, but how can I have the same longing for them as you? You don't even know that women hate you. But where is this hatred? Where does this hatred come from? There's no such thing as love for no reason. This hatred can only come from love. A woman can't hate a man who doesn't have any love for her. Even this man doesn't exist in a woman's eyes. Maybe. Xiaohua couldn't convince Yu Mingxin, so he could only look at the bright moon outside the bamboo pavilion and say, Now that it's come to this, I think this old man should also tell you my story, my experience, and even my thoughts on that day. Women were naturally curious, and Yu Mingxin was no exception. Thus, Xiaohua briefly told the story of himself and Shui. Finally, he said, I believe you understand, miss Yu. Of course, I'm not thinking of you. What I was thinking of that day was my lover. That was for my dead lover. I used an eon's worth of accumulation, just to hold her hand. I'd rather go through an entire eon to truly fulfill my dream of seeing her. However, it wasn't her, it was you. Perhaps this is what they call a freak combination of circumstances. One calamity. Yu Ming Xian was obviously a little dazed. Her face was flushed, and she was almost moaning. If someone is willing to miss me for one calamity, I don't care even if I'm smashed into pieces. How fortunate was that girl named Shui. How can I have no regrets? Even in the 9 underworlds, there's an infatuated man who'd rather give up his life and use an eon's worth of longing to hold her hand. If it was me, I'd rather take his place. Even if I can't fall into the 9 underworlds, I'd be willing to fall into the bottom of the sea river. What nonsense are you talking about? Xiaohua rebuked. Why are you acting crazy? Xiaohua, are you worried about me? Yu Mingxin asked. Xiaohua smiled and didn't answer. Instead, he continued, The feelings of 2 people depend on fate. Don't the people of the secular world have a saying? Fated to meet thousands of miles apart, fated to meet, fated not to meet? Actually, miss Yu, you and I really don't have any fate. Speaking up to here, Xiaohua sighed. The people of the secular world all think like this. We Taoist cultivators easily live for hundreds of years and even thousands of years. We have even more opportunities to find our own fate. However, how can a person's fate be judged only by time? If we're not fated, even if 10,000 years, how can we meet again? Speaking up to here, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of Fairy Hong Xia from Dawn Rain Continent. However, because of some grudges, the 2 of them had been separated for tens of thousands of years. Although Shui had fallen, Her soul was in the inside of space. Xiaohua could see her from time to time. Although Fairy Hongxia was still alive, she was far from yin and yang. Xiaohua sighed again. Sigh, perhaps. It's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. Yu Mingxin smiled bitterly. However, she gritted her teeth and said, Xiaohua, I know your love for Shui Shui. I also deeply sympathize with her experience and admire her sacrifice. However, even if it's me, I can also do it. The so-called it's better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. I really don't understand. I'd rather stay by your side and not forget each other in the pugilistic world. Miss you are still young. Perhaps in the future when you have experience, you'll understand. Xiaohua couldn't explain his thoughts. He took out the essence and said, Now you should replenish the essence that you owe. This essence is very important to you. It's also very crucial to your Tao heart. The heavenly devil's dance overturned the mortal world. Although you weren't directly injured by the heavenly devil, when this old man borrowed your essence, perhaps the heavenly devil's dance had already taken advantage of the situation. Not only were you injured, your Tao foundation was also damaged. If you don't replenish it in time and don't repair your Tao heart in the future, you may encounter the tribulation of the mortal world. Especially when your cultivation is somewhat damaged, it's even more likely to happen. Xiaohua. Yu Mingxin stared at Xiaohua, as if she wanted to imprint Xiaohua's appearance into her heart. She said word by word, Take back that essence. I don't need it. Since I've already paid, I don't want to take it back. I also don't want to take back what I've paid. I'd rather you owe me. I'd rather my essence be in your body. I'd rather you owe me a lifetime. In the future, perhaps thousands of years, perhaps tens of thousands of years, perhaps I'll turn into nothingness, perhaps I'll fall into the 9 underworlds. When you think of all of this, when you think of everything that happened today, you will think of me. You'll think of a pitiful woman who's willing to show you everything she has. If I take this so-called essence, perhaps your karma will be severed. In the future, you'll never think of the woman you met in the ruins. The woman who will think of you for who knows how many years in the future. Looking at this stubborn woman, Xiaohua was somewhat speechless. He didn't know how to explain it to her. After all, this was the ruins, not the hidden immortal continent. In the hidden immortal continent, he provoked Fairy Jing and Xian. Fairy Jing drank the forgotten love water for him, and Xian was the princess of the immortal palace. He didn't know how to deal with her. How could he provoke a little woman who fell in love with him at first sight in the upper realm's ruins? Thinking of this, Xiaohua took back his essence and said seriously, Lady Yu, this old man won't say anything unnecessary. After all, life and time are the best teachers. In the future, you'll understand what this old man said today. Moreover, in the future, you'll inevitably meet a man who's more suitable for you. You'll also inevitably have an even more unforgettable love. You'll also have a true life, a true love. Forget about me, I'm just an outsider. In the end, I'll return to my own world, and won't leave a trace, in the ruins. How can it be that easy? Yu Mingxin's eyes flashed with determination as she replied, Xiaohua, love is a seed that has already been planted. How can it disappear? Perhaps it'll never sprout, so let it ferment forever. Let this love dissipate in the night sky with the moon god's favor. Saying this, Yu Mingxin took out a veil from her spatial ring and covered her head. She looked up at the round moon that was as bright as a mirror. Her gaze was so sad. Lady Yu, why are you doing this? Looking at Yu Mingxin's veil, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. You have your persistence, I have my principles. Yu Mingxin indifferently replied, Perhaps one day, when the knot in my heart is gone, I'll remove this veil. I'll face this world once again. Ai. Xiaohua sighed again. He knew that he had hurt a girl's heart, and even changed her life. However, he knew that he had done the right thing. It was better to have a short pain than a long pain. This was a kind of rebirth pain for Yu Mingxin, But it was also a kind of relief for him. Lady Yu, I'll send you back to the fragrance order. Xiao Hua looked at the moon that was gradually setting and asked in disappointment. No need. Yu Mingxin slightly shook her head. You only need to tell me where this place is, and I'll take the transmission array back to the fragrance order. This place? Xiao Hua stuttered. I don't know where this is. Now that the devil race is rampant, I'll personally send you back. You've just recovered from your injuries, it's better for you to cultivate here. Yu Mingxin indifferently replied. If I'm not wrong, this should be the coiling dragon mountain of the ruins, which is the so-called soaring dragon mountain range of the newly risen Fortune Gate. There's a transmission array for Soft Sound Palace nearby. I'll go back myself. Who knows how many people died in the war between Taoists and devils? I'm just an ordinary female cultivator. The devil race might not put me in their eyes. Fine. Xiao Hua was speechless, then said, Do as you wish. Do you hate me that much? Yu Mingxin asked again. You can't tolerate me staying here for a few more hours? No, no. Xiao Hua hurriedly denied. Even if Lady Yu doesn't leave, this old man won't say anything. Yu Mingxin looked at Xiao Hua and sighed. Xiao Hua, you're obviously so approachable. Why are you so heartless towards me? Xiao Hua was speechless. Yu Mingxin didn't seem to ask for an answer. She walked to the side of the bamboo pavilion and looked up at the moon. Her gaze followed the moon as it gradually set. When the first rays of dawn rose, the east was about to break, and the three suns jumped out of the horizon. Yu Mingxin turned her head and said, Taoist Xiao, this junior will take her leave. -13. Chapter 41-24. The words, Taoist Xiao, seemed to sever all ties. Xiao Hua's heart ached as he raised his hand. I'll send you off. No need. I have my own legs. Yu Mingxin was still stubborn. As she spoke, she flew into the air. Green-robed Taoist! Xiao Hua called out softly. Help me send Lady Yu back to the incense cult. Sigh, what a good girl! Green-robed Xiao Hua flew out and shook his head. Why don't you cherish her? Xiao Hua rolled his eyes. I do want to cherish her, but do you think I can take her away? What can I use to cherish her? You're quite considerate, why don't you share some with her? It's your decision whether to take her away or not. If you feel that hidden Immortal continent and Dawn Rain continent aren't suitable, you can bring her to Shenhua continent. Shenhua continent is full of vitality now. It's more interesting than the ruins. Green-robed Taoist, Xiao Hua said helplessly. Emotions are emotions, they have nothing to do with one's heart. I've only seen Lady Yu a few times, how could I fall in love with her? Taoist, you still don't understand such emotional matters. When you have enough essence, perhaps you'll understand. Eh? Green-robed Xiao Hua's eyes lit up. Taoist, you mean we've profited from a disaster? Yes, of course. Xiao Hua nodded. Being banished to Black Ruins Mountain was a disaster. Drifting in the heavenly prison for tens of thousands of years was also a disaster. Even being plotted against by the heavenly demon was a great disaster. However, now we're in a better place. Accidentally entering the ruins is an opportunity, and refining the heavenly demon is another. It's impossible to encounter such an opportunity in the three continents, or even Dawn Rain continent. Taoist, please send Lady Yu off first. When you return, we'll discuss it carefully. All right. Green-robed Xiao Hua clapped his hands and disappeared in the air. Xiao Hua looked at the place where Yu Mingxin had disappeared and sighed. He then released his divine sense. After looking for a moment, his figure flickered and a faint thread of fire flashed in the air. He used the fire escape technique to fly tens of thousands of miles away. When Xiao Hua reappeared, he stood in the air and looked around with satisfaction. This was a wasteland, and there were no signs of human habitation, cultivators, or devils within 1,000 miles. There were only withered yellow mugworts scattered all over the boundless mountains. Occasionally, there were some undulating hills, on which stood some unknown plants with thumb-sized berries hanging from the sharp branches. There weren't many rivers in the wilderness. In some places, there were deep ravines carved into the ground. In the middle of the ravines, there were brown mountain rocks. Xiaohua looked at it for a moment, then made a hand seal. A yellow light flashed around his body, and his whole body fell to the ground. And let's do it here! Xiaohua's figure moved under the ground for a moment. After observing for a while, he stopped about 100 feet away from the ground and said to himself, "The heaven-earth essence qi in this area is extremely rich. There are no sects nearby, and the devils won't notice this place. Although there is a teleportation array not far away, few people use it. Ordinary cultivators can also come here. If I build a teleportation array here, it shouldn't attract anyone's attention." After saying that, Xiaohua waved his hands and shot out 365 jade talismans. It took him half an hour to set up the Capital Heaven Star Array in an area of more than 10 mu. When the Capital Heaven Star Array was set up, Xiaohua released some puppets and let them clean up the soil and stones in the Capital Heaven Star Array to make room for the teleportation array. At this time, green-robed Xiaohua had returned. "How come you're so fast?" Xiaohua frowned as he looked at green-robed Xiaohua's figure gradually appearing. Green-robed Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "What? Taoist, I still want to send her back to the 7-Ridge Mountains?" "Yes, that's what I meant." Xiaohua didn't hide it. "At this time, the devils are rampant. There's still a long way to go from the southwest border to the 7-Ridge Mountains." Green-robed Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said, "Didn't you not want her? Why are you so concerned? These are clearly two different things." Xiaohua was helpless. "Yu Mingxin saved our lives. Sending her back to her sect safely isn't a big deal, right?" Green-robed Xiaohua looked at the puppets that were busy and said with a smile, "Don't worry. Although I didn't send her back to the 7-Ridge Mountains, when I followed Miss Yu to the teleportation array, we met the disciples of Fragrance Cult and Shinao sect. Among them was Wan Wuxin, whom you saw earlier. There were dozens of them, and they said that they were going to Qinghe under the orders of their sections. After Miss Yu heard this, she didn't return to the 7-Ridge Mountains for the time being and went with them to Qinghe. I saw them enter the teleportation array before returning." "Qinghe?" Xiaohua slightly nodded. "According to the battle report from the discussion hall, there aren't any devils in Qinghe. They probably have other missions, right?" "Yes, I also thought so I returned without worry." Green-robed Xiaohua blindly moved. "Moreover, even if I send Miss Yu back to the 7-Ridge Mountains, as long as the devils in the ruins aren't eliminated, she'll be in danger at all times. You probably can't do anything about it, right?" "Sigh, that's true." Xiaohua could only nod. "If Miss Yu's personality isn't so stubborn, I can help her raise her strength. That would be the best. If that's the case, she won't be called Yu Mingxin." Green-robed Xiaohua chuckled and changed the topic. "Oh right, what did you say our opportunity in the ruins was? Take a look at this." As he spoke, Xiaohua took out the orthodoxies of the 8 sects in the southwest that Confucian cultivator Xiaohua gave him, and handed them over to green-robed Xiaohua. Green-robed Xiaohua took it, and opened his mouth to swallow it. However, after a moment of hesitation, he placed the jade slip on his forehead. In just a short moment, shock appeared on his face. Then, he carefully read through all 8 jade slips before closing his eyes and pondering. After an entire hour, he finally looked up at Xiaohua and enunciated each word clearly. "Fellow Taoists, the cultivators of the ruins. Do they cultivate the nascent divinity arts? Is it the Tao sect's primordial spirit technique?" "That's right." Xiaohua also nodded solemnly. "The Confucian cultivators of the 3 continents cultivate the primordial spirit, so there are realms of refining essence into qi, refining qi into spirit, refining spirit into void, and refining void into heaven. In the ruins, the Tao sect's cultivation system is different from the 3 continents and Dawn Rain continent. They also cultivate the primordial spirit, and the realms are refining essence, transforming qi, returning spirit, returning void, and transforming Tao. Apart from the last transforming Tao, the first 8 realms are almost exactly the same as the Confucian cultivators. However, the Confucian cultivators cultivate the qi of righteousness, while the ruins cultivators cultivate the qi of heaven and earth. That's strange. Green-robed Xiaohua comprehended a lot of cultivation methods, and his understanding of cultivation methods and secret arts was also extremely deep, but he was also somewhat confused when faced with such a different cultivation system. The Dao sect cultivators of the 3 continents and Dawn Rain continent cultivate the nascent soul, but the Dao sect cultivators of the ruins cultivate the primordial spirit, so why do they all use the qi of heaven and earth? And many of the arts are the same as well? There are 2 possibilities, Xiaohua said indifferently. First, the 3 continents and Dawn Rain continent are lower realms. Not only is the qi of heaven and earth there not abundant, but it's also different from the ruins' qi of heaven and earth. It can't allow Dao sect cultivators to cultivate the primordial spirit. But the ruins is a higher realm, so the qi of heaven and earth here can allow Dao sect cultivators to cultivate the primordial spirit. That makes sense. Green-robed Xiaohua nodded. Other clones might not be able to detect it, but I can clearly sense the faint fluctuations within the qi of heaven and earth with the help of the formless nascent soul. This is something that the 3 continents don't have. Then what's the second? The second is the essence energy. Xiaohua answered. If it wasn't for the heavenly devil, I still wouldn't know that we human cultivators still have essence energy in our bodies. Even more so, I don't know the importance of this essence energy and how to use it. Fellow Taoists must also know about the rejuvenation pill that we refined previously, right? I'm afraid that there's a small amount of essence energy mixed in it. That's why it has such a miraculous effect. Fellow Taoist means that the essence energy in the bodies of the ruins cultivators is different from the essence energy in the 3 continents and Dawn Rain continents human cultivators. It's not different, the essence energy is presumably the same, but the amount of essence energy contained in each human cultivator's body is different. Xiaohua said with a smile. You can see the difference from the orthodoxies of the 8 great sects? The first stage of Dao sect cultivators is to refine essence. Only those who can control the essence energy in their bodies and refine it for their own use can be called Dao sect cultivators. The essence mentioned by Confucian cultivators seems to be the essence of essence, energy, and spirit, right? Green-robed Xiaohua probed. It should also be the essence of essence energy. Xiaohua explained. However, the essence energy in the bodies of the humans of the 3 continents is really too little, so they have to borrow the human qi and the noble qi to refine it into qi. In that case, it should be a great opportunity for fellow Taoist Confucian cultivator. What does it have to do with us? Green-robed Xiaohua was completely stupefied. Fellow Taoist, Confucian cultivators often hear people talk about essence, energy, and spirit. Only with these 3 things can there be a living person. This essence is the most basic foundation of a person, Xiaohua said with a smile. And for fellow Taoists and your clones, although you've used the external incarnation technique to separate yourself, you can't be considered as living people. Who says we can't? Green-robed Xiaohua almost stomped his feet. Isn't the person standing in front of you a handsome man? But, fellow Taoists, do you think you'll love Yu Mingxin? Xiaohua's eyes turned as he said with a smile. Love? What's love? Green-robed Xiaohua was a bit bewildered. Could it be that fellow Taoist feels sorry for Yu Mingxin and wants I to replace you? People often talk about the 7 emotions and 6 desires. The 7 emotions are happiness, anger, grief, fear, love, disgust, and lust. The 6 desires are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, the 6 desires. As for human nature, it's even more impossible to use words to express it. Xiaohua said again. Fellow Taoist and the others are currently only clones of I. They still don't have the 7 emotions and 6 desires, so they can't be considered as separate people. And this essence energy is the most basic foundation for fellow Taoists to become human. -13. Chapter 41-25. Xiaohua looked at the green-robed Xiaohua and said faintly, I didn't understand before. However, ever since I experienced the illusory array of the heavenly demon and witnessed the emotions of the bone-tempering Xiaohua, the phoenix body Xiaohua, the dragon bloodline Xiaohua, and the devil spirit Xiaohua in the illusory array, I realized that those clones were the real clones. Moreover, when I took back my own profound chi from the heavenly demon, I understood that the prerequisite for practicing the external avatar technique is to have enough profound chi. Only with enough profound chi can one create a real doppelganger. I may have enough profound chi, but when I split my doppelganger, I didn't know how to split my profound chi. Moreover, your doppelgangers were split by a long time ago. This is an early congenital deficiency, which gave the heavenly demon the opportunity to have a primordial spirit battle. The green-robed Xiaohua was shocked and shouted. So, there are a lot of cultivators in the Xiaoyu continent, and even the hidden Immortal continent who know about the primordial spirit-splitting technique, but there may not be many who successfully practice it. It's all because the human race in the lower realm doesn't have enough profound chi? Yes, it should be like this. Xiaohua nodded. Even now, looking back, the primordial spirit-splitting technique that I got before seems to be very perfect, but in fact, it's just a small trick to treat the symptoms but not the root cause. It's all a shortcut. In the end, because of insufficient profound chi, one will go astray and destroy the body. No wonder the external avatar technique was called the supreme secret technique of the demon realm by the so-called empress. Only the strong of a realm can practice it. So this is the reason. The green-robed Xiaohua somewhat understood. So, although the strength of the cultivators in the ruins is not high, they are in the upper realm, so they are born with sufficient profound chi, which is 100 times stronger than the human race in the 3 continents. These are just I's guesses. Xiaohua smiled. It's impossible to record this in the orthodoxy of the 8 major sects. Who cares if their profound chi is 100 times stronger than the human race in the hidden Immortal continent? As long as we can use the ruins technique to make up for the deficiency of our primordial spirit that day, cultivate our primordial spirit to perfection, and then use the profound chi in the heavenly demon's body to supplement the profound chi of the doppelgangers, and mold you into real cultivators with 7 emotions and 6 desires. Alas! When green-robed Xiaohua heard this, he hesitated for a moment before bowing and saying, On behalf of the other fellow Taoists, I thank fellow Taoists for his great kindness. Although I didn't participate in the battle of the primordial spirits, I also heard something strange from the words of Mo Ling. I also felt the crisis and was afraid that fellow Taoists would have other thoughts. Now that we've heard it, we're truly at ease. Fellow Taoist, your heart is as pure as the heavens, and your sincerity is greater than the sun and moon. I also had evil thoughts, Xiaohua said with a smile. However, in the end, I still feel that since I was able to bring all of you fellow Taoists into this world, I should be responsible to the end and do as much as I can. When he spoke up to here, Xiaohua continued proudly. Moreover, I believe that with my character, all of you were separated from my soul core, so I presume your characters aren't much different, right? Even the little Mo Ling was so obedient in the illusion and didn't dare to resist in front of this Xiao. This was what he truly thought in his heart. Therefore, I am extremely relieved to let all of you out. That's... A smile appeared on green-robed Xiaohua's face. Apart from being sentimental and being greedy, fellow Taoist doesn't have any special shortcomings. Sweat! Xiaohua's face turned green as he said somewhat awkwardly. Green-robed fellow Taoist, can you not speak so bluntly? These can't be considered as shortcomings, right? Besides, does fellow Taoist know what sentimental and being greedy are? When he spoke up to here, Xiaohua seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, Right, I have to warn you. Before your profound chi is replenished, don't do sentimental things. Otherwise, you will know what it means to be sentimental since ancient times. TSK. Green-robed Xiaohua said disdainfully. I still don't know what it means to be a good match between a man and a woman, although the so-called old man pushing the cart, shut up. Xiaohua was anxious. Although no one was listening, his face was still red. He didn't think that some details that he didn't pay attention to would now become his weakness. All right. Green-robed Xiaohua saw that Xiaohua was really anxious and hurriedly changed the topic. I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist in these aspects. If you need I and others in other aspects, fellow Taoist can just let me know. Xiaohua pointed at the busy puppet and said unhappily, Do you still need to say it? Could it be that this transmission array needs I to personally arrange it? If fellow Taoist personally arranges it, it's naturally foolproof. Green-robed Xiaohua said with a smile. However, for such a small matter, there's no need for fellow Taoists to have such a profound cultivation. I will help you deal with it. Seeing that green-robed Xiaohua had already started to flatter him, Xiaohua smiled. The heavenly devil's profound qi was really boundless. He had only just refined it, and it made green-robed Xiaohua have such rare emotions. He was really looking forward to it. He wanted to know what would happen to him and his clone after refining the heavenly devil's profound qi. It's just that. Without waiting for Xiaohua to be gratified, green-robed Xiaohua suddenly brought him back to reality. I feel that this place isn't suitable for setting up a transmission array. Oh? Why? Xiaohua was slightly stunned and asked. Green-robed Xiaohua looked around and said, This place is relatively close to the ground. It's easy to be discovered by the devil race. Moreover, now that the ruins is besieged by the devil race, even if we set up a transmission array, we may not be able to find the location marked by fellow Taoists' divine sense. Why don't fellow Taoists take advantage of the war between the devil race and the cultivators of the ruins to sneak out of the ruins? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for us to set up a transmission array in other places similar to the ruins? Xiaohua could only smile bitterly in his heart at the thought of green-robed Xiaohua who didn't care about the cultivators of the ruins. He understood that green-robed Xiaohua still couldn't really understand the meaning of life at this time, so he explained. This transmission array only needs to be connected to the divine sense mark in the Elysium world. That divine sense is very weak. If the transmission array goes too deep underground, I am afraid that there will be a problem when the transmission array is activated. As for setting up a transmission array in other places, I have also thought about it. However, since we were interrupted here during the transmission process previously, it is more likely that the ruins can sense that divine sense. If we put it in other places, perhaps without the interference of the devil race, we may not be able to sense that divine sense. As for the devil race, without us in the ruins, there may be no hope of defeating them, but with us and the Fortune Gate, there is always hope of defeating the devil race. Good. Green-robed Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, I know, fellow Taoists can go do other things. Leave the transmission array to I. And my Fortune Gate lost tens of thousands of disciples in the ruins, and their souls are still floating in the sky above the ruins. The devil race surrounded the ruins with the purpose of collecting wandering souls. I can't let the devil race take away the wandering souls of my Fortune Gate disciples. Xiaohua raised his eyes to look at the ground and said indifferently. Green-robed Xiaohua hurriedly urged. Fellow Taoist is right, this matter should be done sooner rather than later, fellow Taoists should go quickly. Subsequently, Xiaohua cupped his fists at green-robed Xiaohua and flew out from the capital star formation in a flicker. His consciousness wrapped around the netherworld origin force, and while flying, he collected the wandering souls into the inside of the space. The 10 years that Xiaohua was trapped in the netherworld blood sea was also the most crucial period of the war in the southwest. The Fortune Gate had lost 40,000 disciples, and the 8 sects in the southwest had lost even more disciples. On top of that, the devil clansmen had also been killed. Inside Xiaohua's space, the underworld fruit tree had begun to expand rapidly. A continent similar to Shenhua continent had also emerged from the netherworld blood sea. On top of that, strange underworld beasts had also appeared on this continent. These underworld beasts looked like insects, but also like ants. There were many kinds of them, and they could be found all over the continent. Xiaohua collected the wandering souls near the soaring Dragon Mountain range, and just as he was about to go to other places to take a look, Sun Jian sent him a message. Xiaohua received the message, and after reading it carefully, he couldn't help but frown. The message clearly stated that among the 10 great sects of the southwest border, only the Snow-Chopping School and the Eternal Peace Mountain had not been rescued by the Fortune Gate from the Devil Race's encirclement. This was not because the Fortune Gate did not want to rescue them, but because the location of these two sects was too dangerous. This danger was nothing to the Devil Race, who had the ability to control space, but it was troublesome for the other human cultivators. This danger was originally a barrier for the two sects to resist the foreign enemies, but now it had become an obstacle for the Fortune Gate to rescue them. Now that Sun Jian had received Xiaohua's reinforcements of 100,000 Fortune Gate's disciples, he began to train the new disciples while contacting the Snow-Chopping Gate and Mount Yong'an to send disciples to investigate the Devil Race's situation. However, the situation was beyond Sun Jian's expectations. Not only did the two sects not respond, but none of the disciples sent out to investigate had returned. Sun Jian felt that this matter was strange, and contacted the Ruins Assembly Hall. In the end, the Assembly Hall's message was the same as Sun Jian's. The Assembly Hall had also lost contact with the two sects half a year ago, and the disciples sent out by the Assembly Hall also did not return. In other words, at this time, no one had any news about the Snow-Chopping School and the Eternal Peace Mountain. If Sun Jian wanted to send the Fortune Gate's army to these two sects, he must obtain news from them. Therefore, after thinking for a long time, Sun Jian sent a message to Xiaohua, hoping that Xiaohua could send his friends to the Snow-Chopping School and the Eternal Peace Mountain to inquire about the Devil Race's movements. When Xiaohua saw this message, he was displeased at first. After all, whether it was Soul Cultivator Xiaohua's 3 doppelgangers, or himself, they were all 9th grade Essence Force cultivators. If they wanted to kill the Devil Race's Devil Monarch and Devil Emperor, naturally they would have to go. This kind of small matter of inquiring about information, how could it be worth it for him to take action? However, after thinking about it for a while, Xiaohua also understood Sun Jian's difficulties. The cultivation of the disciples sent by Sun Jian to the two sects might not be too bad, and they would certainly be good at escape techniques. The Assembly Hall wanted to control the situation in the ruins, and the disciples sent out were familiar with the situation of the Snow-Chopping School and the Eternal Peace Mountain. Even they had fallen there, how could Sun Jian send more disciples? Perhaps only Soul Cultivator Xiaohua and other experts who were not afraid of the Devil Race were suitable, right? -13. Chapter 41-26. Hee. The teleportation formation was built by fellow Taoist Green Robe. This Xiao can be considered to have nothing to do now. Since that's the case, this Xiao might as well make a trip. Either way, I can also snatch some souls from the devil's mouth. It can be considered as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Xiaohua made up his mind and sent back the transmission talisman. After identifying the direction slightly, he released the netherworld origin power and flew towards the direction indicated by the transmission talisman. After flying for more than 10 days, he saw that the originally undulating mountain range had gradually turned into sheer cliffs and precipitous cliffs. Huge cracks were deeply carved on the ground. The cracks here were radial, as if a large hand was pulling the ground apart. There was not a single plant on the cliffs in those cracks, not even the commonly seen green moss could be seen. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over and only saw a kind of huge green rock. This huge rock was exposed in the air. There were strange scratches on it, like a folded sticky cake. Xiaohua's figure stopped on top of a cliff and released the netherworld origin power again. Whoop! A strange whirlwind was born from Xiaohua's body and spun towards the distance. Following this whirlwind, wandering souls flocked into the dark side of Xiaohua's space like a swarm of bees. In just half the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, he had collected no less than several tens of thousands of wandering souls. It's a bit troublesome. Xiaohua stopped. At the same time he identified the direction, he thought to himself. Along the way, the number of wandering souls of the human race has increased, and the number of souls of the devil race has also decreased. Now that I'm close to the two sects, I can't even see the souls of the devil race. In other words, these two sects might have already been annihilated by the devil race. However, if these two sects were annihilated by the devil race, the devil race should have retreated long ago. It's impossible for those disciples who came to scout not to return. Furthermore, since the devil race's devil emperor wants to collect the souls of the human race in the ruins, why didn't they make a move on the hundreds of thousands of souls in the southwest border? Why did they have to wait until the last moment to collect them all together? Could it be that they want to use so many souls to refine the devil artifact at the same time? Just as he was thinking, whoop! A gust of wind whistled from afar, blowing on the rock under Xiaohua's feet and releasing an even more horrifying sound. Furthermore, as the wind blew past, the rocks within 1,000 li to the left of Xiaohua also released this kind of sound. These sounds gathered together, formed a chaotic fluctuation. These fluctuations not only attacked Xiaohua's Naiwen palace, they also directly shook Xiaohua's mysterious dark cloud. A green light flickered between Xiaohua's eyebrows as he urged his soul cultivation technique to block these fluctuations. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel aghast in his heart. Granny, Sun Jian's messaging talisman did mention the dangers of the southwest border, but this Xiao still underestimated this danger. No wonder Sun Jian didn't dare to send any more disciples here. This natural attack is comparable to a soul cultivation secret technique. How could an ordinary cultivator withstand it? Whoop! Another gust of wind that was twice as loud as the previous one came out. Xiaohua hastily raised his head, only to see that in front of him, there was a gloomy coldness that pressed down on the sky for thousands of li. That gloomy coldness was full of killing intent. The chaotic fluctuations were even more like 10,000 waves crashing over. Although Xiaohua's head was flashing with a green light, outside his mysterious dark cloud, there was still a violent impact that was like thunder. That's not right! Although Snow Chop School and Yong'an Mountain are in dangerous terrain, if they were attacked by this kind of impact, how could their disciples still survive? Xiaohua was somewhat bewildered, but after a moment he woke up. Oh no, there's no need to say any more, this Xiao is lost again. Seeing that the indescribably terrifying storm was about to hit, Xiaohua knew that this heavenly might was absolutely not something that could be resisted by human strength. He hastily urged the wind escape technique to flee into the distance. After fleeing for a few more days, the storm finally lessened, and sunlight began to appear in the cold sky. Looking at the 3 weak orange-like suns gradually setting in the sky, and then looking at the mountain peaks below him that were getting fewer and fewer, and the ravines that were getting deeper and deeper, Xiaohua slapped his forehead and said with a smile, "It seems that this Xiao accidentally found the right direction." After saying that, Xiaohua rested for a moment, released his divine sense, and urged the lightning escape technique to rush towards the place where the suns were setting. In just half an hour, seeing that the 3 suns were about to set, Xiaohua arrived at a very wonderful place. The earth seemed to have come to an end here. Broken cliffs appeared below Xiaohua. In front of the cliffs, there was an empty space. Vaguely, hundreds of miles away, there were huge rocks floating in the air. Above the earth, a huge cliff that looked like a rainbow bridge protruded from a broken cliff, and it was dozens of li long. The 3 suns were setting in the distance of the cliff, and they looked like 3 red balls rolling on a bridge. Below the bridge, there was a green void, and in that void, the outline of a group of stars was faintly visible. Xiaohua understood that as long as the 3 red suns set, a bright starry sky would be born under this cliff, and it would be born under his feet. This is Yong'an Mountain! Xiaohua looked at this beautiful scenery in a daze and whispered. If it was Snow/Gate, it wouldn't be a rainbow bridge protruding out of the earth, but a cliff that seems to have been cut off by a knife. Snow/Gate and Yong'an Mountain built their sects in such a dangerous place, so it is naturally easy to defend and difficult to attack. However, this cliff is so strange, even this Xiao's divine sense is disturbed by the fluctuations outside the cliff, and I can't see the situation inside the cliff. Looking at the unusually quiet Yong'an Mountain, he felt a little strange. Why don't I see the Demon Clan's demon array? Not to mention the Demon Clan's siege? It seems that I can only fly over and take a look. Finished thinking, Xiaohua's figure fell towards the cliff, but after falling for more than 100 zhang, a very strange whirlpool suddenly appeared under Xiaohua's feet, as if it wanted to drag him into the void. Xiaohua was shocked, and lightning surged around his body, and his figure rapidly rose. And as Xiaohua's figure rose, that whirlpool disappeared again. Xiaohua helplessly flew towards the distance for a moment, and then landed again. As he expected, when his figure fell to a certain height, that whirlpool appeared again. Alas, I'm afraid this is the natural barrier of Yongmen Mountain. Xiaohua sighed, looked at the left, and thought to himself. Only by walking out of the cliff will it be safe. No wonder the discussion hall and Sun Jian didn't dare to come to rescue me. Thinking, Xiaohua flew towards the large area, and prepared to walk over from the cliff. However, right before he flew to the cliff, the 3 red suns behind him completely sunk into the ground. However, in the extreme distance to Xiaohua's right, there was still a ray of sunlight that stubbornly shone on the cliff. That bright red color seemed to be quite pleasing. Eh? Xiaohua's figure stopped in midair, slightly stunned, and turned his head to look at the location of the setting sun in puzzlement. That place was already dark, and the 3 suns had already disappeared. What's going on? Suddenly, Xiaohua thought of something, and his figure rapidly rose. Sure enough, as Xiaohua rushed to the sky, the setting sun appeared again in the distance among the shattered rocks. Damn it, this Xiao understands now. Only when a strong wind appeared above Xiaohua's head, blowing Xiaohua's body to the point of pain, did Xiaohua stop. His eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor, and he secretly shouted. This place is where this Xiao saw the torn gap in the ruins when the transportation formation collapsed. No wonder there are strong winds and strange fluctuations here. These should exist in the starry sky. Moreover, the ruins is a planet in the upper realm, and it is originally circular. These 3 suns rise in the east and set in the west, and they won't fall below the ground. As long as you fly towards the location where the suns fall, you will always be able to see the suns. If you fly 1 round around this planet, you should be able to see the sunrise of the 2nd day. The hidden Immortal continent and the dawn rain continent are a piece of land, and the suns rise in the east and set in the west must have fallen below the ground. No! The hidden Immortal continent and the dawn rain continent might not be a piece of land, and they might also be huge planets. It's just that they are too huge, and even Tribulation Transcendence cultivators can't fly faster than the speed at which the suns set. Otherwise, how could Confucian cultivators have the legend of Kwa Fu chasing the sun? After comprehending this point, Xiaohua seemed to have been enlightened. Previously, Heavenly Tao Xiaohua had imparted to him a lot of comprehensions, and the areas that he couldn't understand before were now easily comprehended. Even the starry sky within the space was rumbling, and not only was the starlight shining brightly, but the Shenhua continent was violently expanding once again. Of course! Xiaohua's figure flashed 9 times in midair, and then stopped. Xiaohua pinched his chin and smiled. This Zhao's Shenhua continent and the continent on the yin side of the space are also continents. The hidden Immortal continent and the 3 continents might also be continents. But the fact that the ruins are planets is real, and there are also many planets in the upper realms cultivation world, and this is also real. This world may be continents or planets, and there might be other forms. Isn't the wonder of heaven and earth here? If this Xiao didn't accidentally fall into the ruins, how could I comprehend the profound meaning of the space law so easily? How could I comprehend the minute details of the time law? Ha ha! Xiaohua laughed loudly, and his figure rapidly descended. When his feet touched the ground, he looked at the Yong'an mountain in the distance, which was already shrouded by the curtain of night. He put his hands behind his back and slowly walked over. However, just as he walked out of the cliff, a faint brilliance emerged from the mountain rocks, and then an obscure fluctuation rushed to the other side of the cliff like lightning. Xiaohua only raised his eyelids slightly to take a look, but he didn't stop walking. He knew that this was the restriction of the Yong'an mountain, and if someone broke in, it would definitely send a warning to the sect. Sure enough, after walking for another 100 feet, a voice came from the front. Which fellow Taoist has come to my Yong'an mountain? Please report your name. Xiaohua smiled and stopped, and calmly said, I, Xiaohua of the Fortune Gate, am here to pay my respects to the Yongnan Mountain Sect Master. Oh, so it's Senior Xiao. Please wait a moment, this junior will release the restriction and invite Senior in. That voice didn't sound particularly respectful. -13. Chapter 41:27. After the disciple finished speaking, he saw 100 or so feet in front of Xiaohua. Shua! Like a flash of water, hundreds of light blue sparks appeared out of thin air, and then exploded at the same time. After a series of crackling sounds, hundreds of beehive-like flying boats appeared in the air. On each flying boat stood 2 human cultivators wearing black armor and holding magic treasures. The black armor didn't have any brilliance, and looked like it was refined from wood vines. The armor covered the cultivators' heads and faces, making it impossible to see their appearance. The first flying boat landed in front of Xiaohua, and a tall cultivator flew down from it. He bowed and said, Junior Dinghong, the guard of Yongnan Mountain, greets Senior Xiao. And Xiaohua waved his hand and helped Dinghong up. He asked, This Xiao heard that the devil race besieged the Yongnan Mountain. Why is there no trace of the devil race here? Senior, please know. Dinghong respectfully replied. Several years ago, the devil race besieged the Yongnan Mountain. However, under the tenacious resistance of the disciples, the devil race didn't succeed. Later on, a large-scale star tide occurred near the Yongnan Mountain. The disciples of the Yongnan Mountain were lucky enough to escape by hiding in the mountain protecting formation. However, the devil race was killed by the star tide. After the star tide passed, the devil race retreated. That's strange. Xiaohua curiously asked. Since the Yongnan Mountain has been rescued, why didn't they send the news to the conference hall? Under the star tide, the Yongnan Mountain sect protecting formation was smashed into pieces. The other restrictions, including the transmission array, were completely destroyed. The news of the Yongnan Mountain couldn't be sent out. Dinghong replied neither arrogantly nor humbly. Moreover, the Yongnan Mountain can't enter the conference hall. Why would the conference hall care about the safety of the Yongnan Mountain? Thinking about the conference hall's attitude towards the 10 sects in the southwest, Xiaohua knew that Dinghong was right. However, he still asked. But recently, not only the conference hall, even my Fortune Gate has sent some disciples to investigate. Why didn't I receive any news from the Yongnan Mountain? Oh? There's such a thing? Dinghong was obviously surprised to hear this for the first time. He replied, This junior has only been on guard duty for a few months. There are also shifts during this period. This junior doesn't know what senior is talking about. Forgive junior for not being able to answer. Where's your sect master? Xiaohua asked as he looked at the dense palaces on the cliff that looked like a rainbow bridge after the restriction was removed in the distance. Dinghong looked at Xiaohua and smiled apologetically. To be honest, Junior has never heard of the Fortune Gate, but since Senior is concerned about my Eternal Peace Mountain and is a human cultivator, Junior removed the restriction. However, if Senior wishes to meet with my sect master, I would like to ask Senior to take out your nameplate, or a token from the conference hall. And Xiaohua nodded, took out a jade slip, wrote something on it, and handed it to Dinghong with a smile. I came here in a hurry, so I didn't get the assembly hall's token. Moreover, I'm not a cultivator of the ruins, so I don't have any nameplates. This is the message this old man left for your sect master. Take it to your sect master. I'm sure he'll meet this old man after reading it. Yes, I understand. Dinghong took the jade slip, but didn't look at it. He waved his hand and took out a wooden object that looked like a flying sword. He placed the jade slip inside and turned to a disciple behind him, instructing. Take this to 7th Marshal Uncle. Yes. That disciple took it and drove the flying boat away. After half a cup of tea's time, that disciple drove the flying boat back and respectfully saluted Xiaohua. Senior Xiao, my sect master has a favor to meet you. Oh? Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. Your sect master is quite arrogant. I wouldn't dare. Dinghong hurriedly explained. My sect master was seriously injured in the battle with the devil race. He can't walk, so he can't welcome you from afar, so I hope Senior Shao can understand. What injury? He hasn't recovered after so long? Xiao Hua asked curiously. This? Ding Hong hesitated and smiled apologetically. Forgive Junior for not being able to disclose. Senior should ask my sect master face to face. And lead the way. Xiao Hua nodded. Perhaps this old man can take a look at your sect master's injury. Very good, Senior, please. Ding Hong slightly leaned to the side and motioned Xiao Hua to get on the flying boat, explaining. The restrictions of my Yong'an Mountain are quite powerful. If you don't take the flying boat, it will be a bit troublesome. Of course, with Senior's cultivation, you may not care about this, but in order to not destroy the restrictions, I ask Senior to take the flying boat. Okay. Xiao Hua didn't make things difficult for Ding Hong and agreed, his figure floating on the flying boat. When Xiao Hua landed on the flying boat actually sank slightly, as if Xiao Hua's figure was extremely heavy. Ding Hong was stunned for a moment, then respectfully said, Senior, please sit, Junior will send Senior in. Along the way, there are many restrictions in my Yong'an Mountain. Although many of them are being repaired, their power is not small. Haha, let's go. Xiao Hua laughed. If this old man can't even deal with this, how could this old man dare to come to Yong'an Mountain? Ding Hong somewhat awkwardly replied. Senior must be joking. My Yong'an Mountain may be a dragon's pool and a tiger's den for the demon race, but how could it be possible for the cultivators of the human race? While speaking, Ding Hong activated the flying boat. The flying boats of the other disciples were hidden in the air, but a faint aurora-like dazzling light was emitted from the flying boat. Wherever the flying boat passed, strange fluctuations would appear one after another. There were even a few times when an extremely powerful magnetic force rushed out from the cliff. The magnetic force was like a big colorful tiger, roaring and pouncing towards Xiao Hua. However, before Xiao Hua's face could change, a green cloud immediately appeared above the flying boat. When the magnetic force fell on the cloud, it slowly turned into nothingness. Of course, these clouds couldn't completely eliminate the sharp magnetic force. Some of the magnetic force still broke through the flying boat's defense and fell on Xiao Hua's body. Xiao Hua's whole body flashed with brilliance, and the magnetic force actually pierced through the brilliance. Senior. After doing this several times, Ding Hong's face couldn't help but smile apologetically. These defenses were originally controllable, but because of the siege of the demon race and the destruction of the star tide, some of the defensive arrays have already lost their effectiveness. Please forgive me, Senior. It's okay. Xiao Hua waved his hand as if he was swatting a fly, flashing brilliance, brushing away the magnetic force. He smiled. No wonder fellow Taoists said that although Yong'an Mountain was besieged by the demon race, it would definitely be fine. With this magnetic force, even the demon race would be defeated. Haha, in this aspect, my Yong'an Mountain has some unique conditions. Ding Hong saw that Xiao Hua didn't blame him, so he also smiled and replied. Xiao Hua looked at his feet and asked curiously. Your flying boat of Yong'an Mountain is strange. What material is it made of? It's actually not afraid of the magnetic force? Senior, please no. Ding Hong didn't hide it and explained. This flying boat is made of Yong'an Mountain's specialty, the nightbreaker wood. This nightbreaker wood grows day and night in the polar magnetic field, and the wood grain has developed natural runes. These runes have the effect of using and avoiding the polar magnetic field. And my Yong'an Mountain has also inherited the use of the polar magnetic field's secret technique, so we also set up a secret array inside the flying boat, so this flying boat can pass through the polar magnetic field without attracting the polar magnetic field. If Senior were to fly outside the flying boat at this time, the natural polar magnetic field would have already attacked Senior. So, Xiao Hua looked at the beehive-like flying boat and said with a smile, the strange appearance of this flying boat is also to avoid the polar magnetic field, right? Senior's eyes are really sharp. Ding Hong gave a thumbs up and said, this beehive naturally has 6 edges, which coincides with the array of my Yong'an Mountain, so. At this point, Ding Hong realized that he had misspoken, so he hurriedly stopped and said with a smile, "This matter involves the secrets of the sect, so it's inconvenient for Junior to say more. Senior, please ask the sect master." "Okay." Xiaohua nodded, then looked to the left and asked, "This magnetic force is very powerful. This old man's divine sense can't be released too far. Could it be that your Yong'an Mountain's disciples are all hidden in the array?" "Yes," Ding Hong said with a smile. "The polar magnetic field is a natural barrier. My Yong'an Mountain's disciples are all hidden behind the polar magnetic field, but in a while, Senior will be able to see my Yong'an Mountain's disciples." While speaking, there were many remnant magnetic force flying out from the space. Xiaohua was also used to it. He knew that the closer he got to the core of Yong'an Mountain, the more array would be destroyed. Seeing that the flying boat had flown halfway, another faint magnetic force rushed out and fell like a waterfall. The flying boat flew out of the clouds and was blocked, and similarly, an even fainter remnant fell into the flying boat. Xiaohua glanced at it, and didn't pay attention to it. However, when the faintly discernible magnetic force was less than half a foot away from Xiaohua, "Honk!" a loud sound was heard, and the entire flying boat roared. Then, the clouds of the flying boat rushed out crazily, and the moment the remnant magnetic force came into contact with the clouds, it suddenly changed. The light curtain was more than 10 times stronger than before, and the flying boat outside the clouds also made a wung-wung sound. The 6 magnetic forces echoed the previous magnetic force and slashed towards Xiaohua's head. "Ha!" Ding Hong's figure suddenly dimmed, and like a ghost, he quickly disappeared. His laughter was extremely mocking, however, he only laughed halfway, and immediately, like a duck that had its throat grabbed, he made a quack quack sound, and couldn't laugh any more. Moreover, his half-disappeared figure also stopped in the void, and gradually revealed itself. Gotcha! At this time, the 6 magnetic forces were already closing in. Xiaohua's body flashed with intense lightning as hundreds of electric arcs rushed out, blocking the magnetic forces. Amidst the intense rumbling, the 6 magnetic forces only managed to cut down 60% of the electric arcs before disappearing completely. How did you find out?" Seeing this, how could Ding Hong not know that Xiaohua had already discovered the abnormality? His hands and feet struggled futilely in the air, and he screamed with extreme unwillingness. -13. Chapter 41-28. "You're just a group of lifeless walking corpses. Do you think this old man can't see through you? Even if you can exaggerate, you're still just a demon general. What kind of scheme are you trying to play in front of this old man?" Xiaohua sneered, his index and middle fingers joined together, and with a slight slash, a sword light flashed, and with a crackling sound, Ding Hong's armor was split open from head to toe, and a zombie with a pale face was revealed from inside the armor. This zombie's skin was ashen, his eyes were black, and strange demon patterns covered his entire body. His bare chest was still slightly beating, but when the armor was split open, it had already calmed down. "Hee, so what if you found out?" Ding Hong seemed to be out of breath. He opened his mouth, which was filled with blood, and his tongue was swollen. He said in a somewhat inarticulate voice, "After entering Yong'an Mountain, you will be a member of my demon clan. My demon lord will immediately turn you into a zombie." As Ding Hong's voice fell, a series of rumbling noises that were even denser than the beating of a drum resounded in the space around Xiaohua. After every rumbling noise, a large greenish-purple ball of light would appear in the air. In just a moment, several thousand light balls had filled up the entire space. Within the greenish-purple ball of light, the greenish-purple magnetic force entangled with the purple magnetic force, emitting crackling noises. Outside the ball of light, a layer of space was leaking out from the magnetic force, causing fine spatial cracks to appear. In fact, amidst the rumbling, tens of thousands of humanoid figures were revealed behind these greenish-purple balls of light. These tens of thousands of human figures were not wearing armor, and each and every one of them was in the form of a zombie like Ding Hong. Moreover, their eyes were lifeless, and their robes were stained with black and red blood. Alas, needless to say, these must be the corpses of Yongin Mountain's disciples. Xiaohua sighed. After death, they were used by the demon race. Sure enough, with the appearance of these zombies, the zombies raised their hands, and strange magical power gushed out from their bodies. Those purple light balls emitted an even more dazzling brilliance, and these brilliances overflowed from the light balls like tentacles, and the green brilliance and purple brilliance of each light ball gradually connected together. These Yongin Mountain's disciples seem to have their souls extinguished. Xiaohua slightly frowned. It's just that there's no vitality in their bodies. Even if the demon race is exterminated, there's no value in keeping them. Gidge! A very strange laughter resounded in the surroundings, and then a naked beautiful woman flew out from the palace of Yongin Mountain. Although this woman's figure was graceful, and her body emitted a pink halo, the moment she appeared, all the zombies issued a low growl from their throats, and the formation was somewhat messy. It's just a demon monarch. Xiaohua's gaze fell on the woman's body. The woman's figure seemed to be transparent. Xiaohua said and waved his two fingers again. A sword light appeared out of thin air. Pooh! A sound like silk being torn apart rang out. Dinghong's zombie was split in half. However, even so, no blood or internal organs fell out of the zombie, and the two halves of the zombie were still waving their hands and feet. Puff! Xiaohua opened his mouth, and a samadhi true fire flew out and landed on the two halves of the zombie. Ga! Dinghong's zombie was still screaming miserably, but in a few breaths of time, it fell into the air and turned into dust. Daoist Xiao is indeed powerful. That beautiful woman smiled slightly, and within 100 li, fist-sized flower petals appeared. Those flower petals fell down and gave off light, and the group of zombies couldn't help but clamor again, but the beautiful woman said, "You're actually proficient in Samadhi True Fire. That's out of my expectations. Hee, you're the sect master of Yongin Mountain?" Xiaohua smiled, and looked up and down, then narrowed his eyes and said, "Your appearance is really not bad. It's also out of this old man's expectations." That beautiful woman nodded and looked, then stretched out her hands to lovingly touch her own bump, and said enviously, "This old man is indeed envious of you humans, having such a beautiful body, but unfortunately, you don't know how to take care of it. Why don't you let my devil race take it? The devil race is the devil race, and the human race is the human race." Xiaohua replied indifferently, "If the devil race takes over the human body, is it still the devil race? If the devil race takes over the human body, is it still the human race?" Gidge! That beautiful woman smiled beautifully. "Isn't it like this now? Zhongling Xiu doesn't need to cultivate anymore, and she has endless life, and this old man doesn't need to wander around anymore, and also has such a beautiful body. Forget it." Xiaohua sighed. "Seeing you, this old man also knows why all the cultivators sent here never returned. This old man doesn't want to hear anything else." As he spoke, Xiaohua's aura was like a rainbow, and a thunderous roar surged out from him. You actually don't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex?" That beautiful woman obviously didn't expect Xiaohua to make a move just like that, and actually wasn't seduced by her beauty. "Ha ha!" Xiaohua laughed loudly. "This old man just walked out of the heavenly demon's fantasy land, and your cultivation isn't even worthy of carrying the heavenly demon's shoes." "Heavenly? Heavenly demon?" The gorgeous woman turned pale with fright. Seeing the thunderbolts around Xiaohua's body rushing in all directions, she smiled coldly and stretched out both of her hands. Boom! Following her hands, all of the zombies urged their transcendence energy. Boom boom! Thousands of light balls suddenly exploded. Except for the outer layer of the 100 or so polar magnetic rays that rushed into the sky, all of the other purple-colored magnetic rays entangled together and fell towards Xiaohua. Xiaohua's thunderbolts that soared into the sky were instantly cleaved clean by this unparalleled magnetic force. Hee! Xiaohua sneered, and rubbed his hands, and rays of crystal light fell into the void. Rumble! The space within hundreds of miles shook violently, and bubbles appeared in the void. Countless electric arcs flew out from the bubbles, and it was as if dragons were fighting with the extreme magnetic rays. On the entire Yongin Mountain, it was quite lively with fireworks. Damn it! Seeing Xiaohua so powerful, the beautiful woman couldn't help but curse, and then she opened her mouth again, and said something, and an obscure sound fell in the air. Pa pa pa! But after every light ball, a zombie exploded, and after the explosion, a faint blood color rushed into the light ball. Swish! Inside the light ball, the purple and green extreme magnetic rays made a hissing sound, and then in the blood color, they actually condensed together. Woo! Following the fusion of the two different colored extreme magnetic rays, the roar and power in the entire sky suddenly became several times more accurate. Under the extreme magnetic rays, Xiaohua's thunder was actually dissipated, and even more extreme magnetic rays bypassed the thunder, passing through the void to attack Xiaohua. Hee hee! Xiaohua raised his hand, and was about to take out the sword gourd, but suddenly, the cliffs around Yongin Mountain suddenly emitted bright sparks, and a sound that was even more ear-piercing than the sound of thunder was produced. In the starry sky, like flying fish in the sea, there were many arcs of light, and these arcs of light completely enveloped the entire Yongin Mountain, and within thousands of miles, there was a suffocating aura. Oh! Seeing this, Xiaohua retracted his hand, and with a backhand slap, it really landed on his head. Puff! Clouds of 5-colored true qi gushed out, and turned into silk to protect Xiaohua. Pff pff pff. Like the sound of rain hitting a banana leaf, the magnetic force fell into the clouds, striking a thumb-sized dent, and then disappeared. Even if the magnetic force was like a waterfall, the clouds would only be split, but the 5-colored true qi within the clouds was endless, growing and multiplying endlessly. In front of this true qi that represented the power of life, the extremely powerful magnetic force was also defeated little by little. What kind of divine ability is this? The beautiful woman stood outside the extreme magnetic rays, and felt the power of life that was innately incompatible with her innate divine ability, and couldn't help but cry out in shock. Live as a hero, die as a ghost hero, although I fell into the netherworld, I was unwilling to pass. Xiaohua chanted. How can you demons know the vitality of my human race? How can you demons touch the integrity of my human race? Demons are demons, humans are humans. Since there are no longer any living people in Yongin Mountain, the so-called siege of the demon race is just you, a demon monarch. Why should this old man waste time with you? After saying this, Xiaohua raised his hand, and a golden light flew out of his Taoist robe, and the soaring dragon's scissors turned into a golden dragon that pounced on the witch. How do you know that there is only me in Yongin Mountain? Are you not afraid of hurting the humans of Yongin Mountain? The beautiful woman was shocked again. She controlled the entire Yongin Mountain with the power of a demon monarch, and for several years, nothing was leaked. Even the cultivators who entered Yongin Mountain to investigate were confused by the scene on the surface of Yongin Mountain, and all of them fell into her evil hands. But Xiaohua, in the time it took to eat a meal, unexpectedly saw through her tricks. How could she not be surprised? While the beautiful woman was shocked, she waved her hands again and again, and blood-red devil qi fell into the air, and then from the void, groups of Yongin Mountain disciples rushed out, and each of them waved their magic weapons, blocking in front of the beautiful woman. Whoosh! The soaring dragon scissors cut through the sky, not only cutting some of the extreme magnetic rays, but also cutting those zombie disciples in two. However, these zombies were the same as Ding Hong's corpse. Even though they were cut in two, they were still struggling in midair. Humph! Xiaohua snorted coldly. This old man sees the mortal world with his wisdom. This mountain is full of monsters. How can this old man not see it? After saying this, Xiaohua raised his hand, and with a buzzing sound, a sword light appeared in his hand, and then the sword light soared into the sky, and with a whoosh, it turned into a 1,000-feet-long rainbow that fell down. Damn it! Seeing Xiaohua's endless tricks, and their power was great, the beautiful woman bit her lips, and then opened her mouth to spit out a mouthful of dirty blood. The dirty blood fell into the air, and immediately turned into a huge demon body. This demon body was full of blood, and streams of blood seeped out from the void and fell into the demon body. The demon body raised its hand and grabbed, and within 100 miles, layers of blood flowers were born, and a powerful restriction was tightly locked from the outside. Wasn't this the blood drop paradise that Xiaohua was familiar with? -13. Chapter 41-29. Humph, you're just showing off your slight skill in front of an expert. Xiaohua sneered and simply ignored the blood drop heavenly grotto. He still controlled the flying sword to descend. The sword was filled with an awe-inspiring aura. Wherever it landed, all of the evil energy would turn into ashes. All of the zombies would also be turned into dust. The so-called blood drop heavenly grotto was like a dark night being pierced by light. The flying sword went straight for the blood devil's body. Boom! The flying sword fell. Not only did layers of inscriptions rush out, it was like a warrior facing death unflinchingly fell into the devil chi. Even the sword tip pierced through the blood demon. As soon as the blood demon's imprisonment was broken, the blood demon's body was cut into 2 halves by the sword light. Not only that, the flying sword's tip pierced through the gorgeous woman's arm and cut off her left arm. How is this possible? Seeing the flying sword so sharp, the gorgeous woman turned pale with fright again. Your flying sword is actually not afraid of the devil chi? Swish! Xiaohua did not speak. What answered her was the soaring dragon shears. The golden light borrowed the sword light and cut the gorgeous woman in half. However, even though the gorgeous woman was cut into 3 parts, whether it was her upper body, lower body, or even her left arm, they were all moving freely. Except for the splendor that prevented the devil chi from healing, there was no other change at all. Puff! Xiaohua opened his mouth and a samadhi true fire flew out in the shape of a phoenix. It whistled and pounced on the gorgeous woman. Wherever the samadhi true fire passed, the zombies around 100 feet away were all turned into powder, and the magnetic force controlled by these zombies also turned into nothingness. Kill, kill, kill! The gorgeous woman tried her best to heal the body she was so proud of. At the same time, she urged more zombies of Yong'an Mountain to rush out and attack Xiaohua. It seemed that she did not care about Xiaohua's samadhi true fire. Tens of thousands of Yong'an Mountain disciples rushed out and attacked Xiaohua with the help of Yong'an Mountain's magnetic force. Even someone as strong as Xiaohua felt that it was strenuous. Granny, this devil clan is really weird. Xiaohua was hiding inside the 5-colored true chi. Watching the 5-colored true chi being attacked by the several tens of thousands of disciples using their magic treasures, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He actually used his own strength to capture Yong'an Mountain. Moreover, he even controlled all the disciples of Yong'an Mountain. Although that Ding Hong from before seemed to have the strength of a devil general, he was most likely just a clone of this devil. If we want to kill all of these Eternal Peace Mountain's disciples, our Fortune Gate's disciples will have to suffer a lot. While Xiaohua was thinking, the samadhi true fire had already arrived in front of the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman smiled coldly and opened her mouth again. Another blood demon flew out, revealing a sinister smile as it pounced towards the samadhi true fire. Sizzle! There was a sound like water falling into a pot of oil. More than half of the phoenix formed by the samadhi true fire was destroyed. However, just as the gorgeous woman's contemptuous gaze shifted away from the true samadhi fire, she saw the extinguished phoenix let out a faint mournful cry, as if it was reborn from blood. Its broken body rushed past the blood demon and pounced in front of the gorgeous woman. Not good! Seeing that the blood demon's body was silently pierced through by the fire phoenix, the gorgeous woman turned pale with fright. Unfortunately, the remaining samadhi true fire had already flown out from the samadhi true fire and completely enveloped the gorgeous woman. Even though she hurriedly dismembered her body and fell into the void, the samadhi true fire still entered the void and set her body ablaze. What kind of fire is this? The gorgeous woman's body emitted a blood-red light as she tried to extinguish the samadhi true fire. Unfortunately, the blood-red light also began to burn inside the samadhi true fire. The gorgeous woman screamed and roared. She really regretted not running away the moment she saw Xiaohua's jades slip. Ao. The gorgeous woman's body was gradually burned away by the samadhi true fire, and an almost inhuman demonic figure appeared from the samadhi true fire. That demonic figure was still howling madly. Xiaohua, even if you kill me, you will absolutely not be able to escape the annihilation of the magnetic storm. This is the Eternal Peace Mountain's last resort to perish together with the enemy. Even if the several 100,000 disciples of the Shindao sect came, they would still be annihilated. Seeing that the demonic figure was still being burned by the samadhi true fire, Xiaohua smiled coldly. He raised his hand and took out the sword gourd from his bosom. He said, "Just let yourself be burned quietly. I'll let you have a taste of 10,000 flames drilling into your heart. As for the ending of this old man and the Eternal Peace Mountain, you don't have to worry about it." Xiaohua took out the sword gourd and raised his eyes to look at the sky. He saw that within the range of a few thousand li, the arcs of light that were previously leaping in the night sky had now transformed into a magnetic storm that was several hundred zhang tall. These magnetic storm covered the entire night sky. Not only did it block all the qi of heaven and earth, it also blocked Xiaohua's vision. Including the Eternal Peace Mountain, the space of 10 million li was like the suffocating before the storm. It was terrifyingly quiet. A kind of desolate aura swept across the entire land. Ha! The demonic figure laughed madly in the flames. He. The group of Eternal Peace Mountain zombie disciples still pounced towards Xiaohua, as if they didn't care about the great calamity that was summoned above their heads. Shwa! The sound of the magnetic storm came from an unknown place. This sound was like the beating of a drum and spreading of flowers, instantly covering the entire night sky. Immediately, all the magnetic storms surged at the same time and fell towards the Eternal Peace Mountain. Sigh! Xiaohua sighed, full of compassion. Then, he pointed at the sword gourd. Pooh! The soul-slaying yuan light rushed out and flew straight into the night sky. Woo-woo! The green and red color that had already fused into one separated again at this time, emitting a strange hissing sound. This green and red color turned into tens of thousands of light strands that fell on the magnetic storm in the night sky. One wang! Only the magnetic storm was so vast that the light strands that supported it slightly trembled and emitted a buzzing sound. It seemed like it could break at any time. Quick! Xiaohua's arms immediately turned into a crystal state following the heavenly dragon speech technique. Endless qi poured into the sword gourd. The light strands that were as thin as hair instantly thickened and shone with a dazzling brilliance. Along with this dazzling brilliance, the magnetic storm also slowly came to a stop. Then, rumble! In the originally silent night sky, the magnetic storm was once again attracted by the soul-slaying yuan light, emitting a thunderous sound. Then, Xiaohua released his divine sense. Break! With a word, the already broken array on the Eternal Peace Mountain was destroyed by Xiaohua's divine sense hammer. Kill! Along with Xiaohua's command, the soul-slaying yuan light turned back in midair, driving the magnetic storm to scatter all over the Eternal Peace Mountain. Even some of the magnetic storm fell on the Eternal Peace Mountain zombie disciples around Xiaohua. Ka! Faster than chopping melons and vegetables, all the disciples were chopped into several pieces by the magnetic storm. How is this possible? The demon that had already been burned into thin strands by the spiritual fire looked at all this in disbelief. How can you control the magnetic storm? How can you destroy the entire Eternal Peace Mountain in one fell swoop? You're really ignorant. Xiaohua coldly looked at the last trace of the demon and said indifferently, Haven't you heard of the two-wing spectrometer and the soul-slaying yuan light? No. This was the final sentence of the demon. Along with the demon being extinguished by the spiritual fire, All the Eternal Peace Mountain zombie disciples that were not killed by the magnetic storm fell from midair at the same time. Those disciples that were hiding in the Eternal Peace Mountain also fell down. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over and activated the soul-slaying Yuan light again. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire Eternal Peace Mountain shook. This thunderous sound lasted for the time it took to drink a cup of tea before it gradually disappeared. Fellow Taoists. Xiaohua's face was solemn. He patted his own head and released several doppelgangers. He ordered, Eternal Peace Mountain has already turned into a dead mountain. This is all the witch is doing. We cannot let the witch's doppelgangers escape. I will clean up the mess and stop this magnetic storm. Fellow Taoists, please deal with these pitiful Eternal Peace Mountain disciples. Good. The doppelgangers' expressions were also gloomy. After all, these were hundreds of thousands of Eternal Peace Mountain disciples. Their lives disappeared one after another. After the doppelgangers cupped their hands and saluted, they flew to various places to deal with the corpses. Xiaohua flew to midair and sat down cross-legged. He rubbed his hands and a spell landed on the sword gourd. The sword gourd let out a rumbling sound and gradually fell down. Then, the sword gourd let out a dazzling brilliance and turned into a ball of light. Woo-woo! The soul-slaying Yuan light that rushed out of the sword gourd began to shrink. As the spell was inserted, the soul-slaying Yuan light began to rotate and condense into a spiral shape. The magnetic storm that was attracted by the soul-slaying Yuan light also began to turn into an arc of light and fell into the sword gourd. Pung pung pung. The entire sword gourd let out a crisp sound like beans being fried. Xiaohua chanted the heavenly dragon technique, and the spell in his hands surged. He began to refine the magnetic storm that covered 1,000 miles of Eternal Peace Mountain into the soul-slaying Yuan light. After another bright moon and sparse stars, the entire night sky began to calm down. It was already more than 10 days later. Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed. On the crystal-clear sword gourd, wisps of light appeared. These wisps of light were sometimes visible, as if they were about to fly out of thin air. An indescribable sharpness overflowed from these wisps of light. Xiaohua withdrew his gaze from the sword gourd. He raised his hand and the sword gourd fell into his hand. Xiaohua did not put away the sword gourd. He looked up at the doppelgangers standing not far away and said, Fellow Taoists, did you succeed? All the Eternal Peace Mountain disciples, their bodies have been destroyed. This little brother has checked them one by one. I will not let any of the witch's doppelgangers slip away. Devil Spirit, Xiaohua said with a smile. He flew forward and took out dozens of spatial rings and handed them to Xiaohua. These are the orthodoxies of Eternal Peace Mountain. There are also some fragments. Since Eternal Peace Mountain is no longer here, it would be better for us to take them. Since Eternal Peace Mountain is no longer here, this little brother will take them all. Good. Xiaohua nodded. Fellow Taoist has done a good job. Xiaohua put away the spatial rings and looked at the abandoned Eternal Peace Mountain. He said, Fellow Taoists, since Eternal Peace Mountain has become like this, I'm afraid the Snow Chopping Gate is not much better. Sun Jian bringing the Fortune Gate's disciples to the Snow Chopping Gate won't be able to gain any benefits. I still have some matters to attend to in Eternal Peace Mountain. Fellow Taoists, you can go to the Snow Chopping Gate on behalf of me. Good. Scholarly cultivator Xiaohua nodded. This kind of devil race that occupies a magpie's nest is abominable. This little brother can't wait to tear them to pieces. This little brother must go. -13. Chapter 4130. Fellow Taoist Long Mai. Xiaohua waved his hand and the sword gourd flew out. Fellow Taoist Green Robe is building a transmission array in the Soaring Dragon Mountain range and has no time to go to the Snow/Gate. I'll leave this spirit exterminating light to you. Yes, I understand. Long Mai. Xiaohua took the sword gourd and nodded. I will use the spirit exterminating light to kill thousands of devil seeds. Inform Sun Jian when you go. If necessary, let him take the Fortune Gate disciples directly to the Snow/Gate. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, I know! Long Mai Xiaohua nodded. He looked at the scholarly cultivator Xiaohua, Buddha Bodhi, and soul cultivator Xiaohua and said, With these three fellow Taoists following, there shouldn't be any problems. Fellow Taoists can rest assured. Soon after, several clones bid farewell to Xiaohua and went in the direction of the snow/gate. Xiaohua stood in the air and narrowed his eyes as he looked at the figures of several people flying away. A meaningful smile hung on the corner of his mouth as he said in his heart, Fellow Taoists, don't blame I for testing you. After all, I can still control you now. If I can't control you in the future and find out that you are disloyal, I'm afraid I won't be able to do anything to you. I hope you can work together in the snow/gate and don't let I down. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua released his consciousness. The netherworld origin power swept through the surrounding 10,000 miles of space and absorbed the souls of the Mount Yong'an disciples into the dark side of the space. After that, he took a closer look. His figure swayed, and an earthen yellow brilliance flashed in midair as his figure fell into the broken cliff. Xiaohua didn't find an excuse to stay in the Yong'an mountain just to train his clones. When he was using the spirit exterminating light to refine the magnetic force, he sensed a strong magnetic force in the cliff. He guessed that there would be a magnetic force space under the cliff. Therefore, he stayed to explore the underground. There were many spatial faults in the soil beneath the cliff, and these faults were filled with magnetic forces. Sometimes these faults were extremely large, and the magnetic forces were like a maze in the void. If one was careless and fell into a magnetic trap, one would be killed by the magnetic forces. Xiaohua relied on his innate sense of direction and carefully avoided these traps that could kill people at any time. The deeper he went, the more Xiaohua discovered that there were actually even more origin magnetic fragments beneath the ground. These fragments were of different sizes. The large ones were several miles long, while the small ones were only a few inches long. Every magnetic field naturally had two poles, and when the 5 elements of the human race arrived here, it was inevitable that they would be attracted by the magnetic field. Faced with magnetic field fragments that were several miles in size, even separation and reunion cultivators would have a headache, not to mention the numerous magnetic field fragments beneath the ground. It was only because Xiaohua's demigod body had concealed the attributes of his body that Xiaohua was able to safely reach a pitch-black void without being disturbed by the magnetic shards. Sensing the strong magnetic force in the void, Xiaohua patted the space between his eyebrows and opened his delusion breaker Dharma eye. Ha! He saw that the magnetic force space in front of him was filled with red and yellow magnetic pole lines, and then he saw a huge oval-shaped sphere clearly divided into red and yellow. Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh out loud. Isn't this fire and earth magnetic force? The heavens are really helping me! After Xiaohua finished laughing, he didn't hesitate in the slightest to fly to the extreme point of the fire and earth magnetic field and drip out a drop of his blood essence. After that, he flew to the 2 areas of the magnetic field and collected a large amount of fire marrow flame crystals and earth crystal yao milk before flying out of the magnetic field space. After leaving the magnetic force space, Xiaohua looked left and right. His heart moved, and he didn't fly towards the cliff, but towards the place where the cliff extended into the starry sky. Out of Xiaohua's expectations, there were even more spatial faults along the way, and there were also a lot more origin magnetic shards than before. Just as Xiaohua's figure flew out from the bottom of the cliff, woo-woo! A wave of berserk chi waves stirred up the primordial magnetic force and madly pounced on Xiaohua. Xiaohua waved his Taoist robe, and everything within several li of him was confined. However, this confinement only lasted for a moment. Kacha kacha! Crisp sounds rang out. The confined space was actually broken by the primordial magnetic force and the wave of chi waves. Facing this chaotic power of heaven and earth, Xiaohua shook his head slightly. He did not want to be enemies with it. His figure once again escaped into the earth. Although the wave of chi waves and the primordial magnetic force were still chasing after him, they were blocked by a spatial fault after a moment. Xiaohua randomly escaped for a moment, then carefully avoided the magnetic shards, and once again rushed towards the ground where the cliff was. After escaping for half the time of a meal, Xiaohua finally appeared on the ground. At this time, Xiaohua was already far away from Mount Yong, and Xiaohua looked at the mountain peak and the palace that existed in name only, and sighed. Mount Yong'an can borrow the fire and earth magnetic force and the magnetic force of space to create a sect. There must be something special about their cultivation method. Unfortunately, although the magnetic force is powerful, it is good at attacking the 5 elements, and it is difficult to cultivate it. Now, Mount Yong'an is besieged by the devil race, and hundreds of thousands of cultivators are actually under the control of a devil monarch. Although the devil monarch's pink skull is powerful, if the Mount Yong'an disciples diligently cultivate their Tao foundation and consolidate their Tao realm, they may not necessarily fall into the devil monarch's hands. From this, it can be seen that the Mount Yong'an sect's success and failure are due to the magnetic force. I hope this Shao can bring Mount Yong'an's orthodoxy to other places, and the new sect can learn from Mount Yong'an's tragedy. At this point, a divine sense suddenly appeared in the distance, and swept over like a wave crashing against the shore. It seemed to be a demonstration, and also seemed to be a warning. Xiaohua let out an sound and released his own divine sense. Buzz! The divine sense and divine sense collided together, setting off a wave of energy that could reach the sky. Soon after, they both retracted their divine sense. A melodious voice came from that direction. Is that Xiaohua of the Fortune sect, Taoist Master Xiaohua? With a touch of divine sense, Xiaohua knew that the newcomer was a Tao transformation cultivator from the ruins, which was the so-called 9th grade essence chi cultivator of the hidden immortal mainland. His strength was not inferior to his own. He was a little puzzled, and his figure went up to greet, and he answered with a smile. That's right, it is this Xiao. May I know which fellow Taoist you are? He. As he spoke, a cloud appeared in the horizon, dragging a long tail as it flew in front of Xiaohua. That cultivator's figure was ordinary, and his face was like a full moon. He was wearing a sword outfit, and there was a flame-like sword mark between his eyebrows. The cultivator's eyes were a little red, and when he turned, there was a faint sword light reflected in his eyes. That cultivator sized up Xiaohua, then cupped his hands and said, Shindao Sex Yun Che, greets Taoist Master Xiao. Ah? Yun Che? Shindao Sex Sect Master Yun? Xiaohua was stunned. He naturally knew that the Shindao Sex Tao transformation cultivator was called Yun Che, but he didn't expect that this seemingly inconspicuous cultivator in front of him was actually the sect master of one of the 3 great sects in the ruins. He also didn't expect that he would see Yun Che on Mount Yong'an. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He tidied up his clothes and cupped his hands and said, Xiaohua greets Sect Master Yun. AI, this Yun has long heard that Taoist Master Xiao of the Fortune sect is not only righteous, but also brought the elite disciples of the outer realm to reinforce our ruins. Moreover, you are also approachable, and you are amiable even when facing low-level disciples. This Yun has long admired you, and now that I have seen you, you really live up to your name. This Yun is convinced. Yun Che sighed and hurriedly returned the greeting. Hearing Yun Che's words, Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he said inwardly, Damn it, such a big sect master is actually greeting an outsider like this. Could it be a weasel paying a visit to a chicken? Xiaohua hurriedly waved his hand modestly. Sect Master Yun is too kind. This Xiao is just an ordinary cultivator. How could I have the noble character and unquestionable integrity that fellow Taoist is talking about? Speaking of noble character and unquestionable integrity, this Yun has to represent the 100 sects in the ruins and the assembly hall to thank Taoist Master Xiao and the Fortune sect's disciples for their contributions to the ruins. Without waiting for Xiaohua to finish speaking, Yun Che hurriedly continued and bowed again. If it weren't for the Fortune sect's assistance in the southwest border, not only would the 8 great sects have been annihilated by the devil race, but a large area of the ruins would also have fallen into the hands of the devil race. This Xiao doesn't dare to claim credit. Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand to support Yun Che and said, This is all the credit of the Fortune sect's disciples, yes. Although Yunche stood up, he still continued. This Yun has long heard that the fortune sect's disciples have lost nearly 50,000 disciples for the ruins. This Yun and the entire assembly hall are grateful to the fortune sect for this. Hearing this, Xiaohua smiled, looked at Yunche and said word by word. Sect Master Yun, you didn't come all the way from the assembly hall to Mount Yongnan just to thank this Xiao, right? Hee, of course. Yunche laughed. Taoist Master Xiao is now the most famous person in the ruins, and the fortune sect's disciples are the most elite troops in the ruins to deal with the devil race. Not to mention this Yun, even all the sect masters in the assembly hall are willing to come all the way here to thank Taoist Master. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, Sect Master Yun is too polite, you wouldn't have come to Mount Yongnan for no reason, right? This Yun naturally didn't come to the southwest border just to find Taoist Master Xiao. Yunche knew that he couldn't pretend anymore, and said with a serious expression, But since I didn't meet Taoist Master in the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range, and I met Taoist Master Xiao on Mount Yongnan, this Yun can only meet Taoist Master Xiao. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and stared at Yunche thoughtfully. Of course he knew why Yunche came to the southwest border. He had killed all the zombie disciples on Mount Yongnan. If no one knew, then it was fine, but if someone used it against him, he really couldn't refute. After all, no one saw the witch controlling Mount Yongnan, and the orthodoxy of Mount Yongnan had completely disappeared. Cough, cough. Seeing the unfriendliness in Xiaohua's eyes, Yunche hurriedly coughed twice and said, The assembly hall received a message from the fortune sect, and knew that there had been no news from Mount Yongnan Snow's/school for several years. In addition, in the last half a year, none of the disciples in the assembly hall had returned, so the assembly hall wanted to know what happened to these two sections. Originally, they wanted to send elders from other sects, but this Yun really has something to discuss with Taoist Master Xiao, so this Yun volunteered to come to Mount Yongnan. -13. Chapter 41-31. This Yun rushed to the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range and happened to hear from General Sun that Taoist had personally come to the Yongnan Mountain Range to investigate. Just like this Yun thought, this Yun chased after him without stopping. Yunche looked meaningfully at the Yongnan Mountain in the distance and said, However, it seems that Taoist has already found out the truth of the matter. This Yun doesn't need to waste any more time. Xiaohua thought for a moment, and told him about the Yongnan Mountain Range. When Yunche heard that the entire Yongnan Mountain Range was captured by a devil monarch, and that all the disciples were controlled by a beautiful woman, he was not particularly surprised. However, when he heard that all the zombie disciples were killed by Xiaohua and a few other cultivators, his expression changed greatly. His figure involuntarily retreated a little and asked in a low voice, Then, are those fellow Taoists the famous Patriarch Bodhi, Patriarch Wenxiu, and Patriarch Wu? Xiaohua nodded with a faint smile and replied, After this Xiao and a few other fellow Taoists killed all the zombies, this Xiao thought of the Snow/Gate. Therefore, this Xiao asked fellow Taoists to go to the Snow/Gate to assist General Sun Jian. This Xiao will stay here and wait for Sect Master Yun. Oh. When Yunche heard this, he felt a little relieved, but then he was stunned again. Taoist Xiao, what level are you at? You can actually sense this Yun's arrival? What level are you at? Xiaohua rolled his eyes and smiled slightly. He waved his hand and said, Sect Master Yun is thinking too much. This Xiao is just joking with you. This Xiao has just escaped from the Devil Monarch's trap and is a little tired. This Xiao doesn't want to get involved in the killing. Hearing this, Yunche hurriedly asked, Taoist Xiao, this Yun has an extremely important matter to ask Taoist Xiao. Oh? What is it? Xiaohua asked curiously. Then, the Devil Monarch that has besieged you for more than 10 years, which one is it? Yunche considered his words and asked with a kind of expectation in his eyes. Which one? Xiaohua asked curiously. What does Sect Master Yun mean? This? Yunche's face was a little red. He hesitated for a moment and said, This Yun means that this Devil Monarch has revealed his name? Do you know which Devil Monarch he is? Xiao Hua thought for a moment, shook his head slightly, and said, "That guy seemed to want to say his name that day," but this Xiao interrupted him. "Who has the patience to know that he is some devil emperor?" At this point, Xiao Hua was also stunned, and said with some disbelief, "Sect Master Yun, not to mention that you have fought with the Devil Emperor for several hundred years in the discussion hall and have never seen the Devil Emperor, you also don't know who the Devil Emperor besieging the ruins is, right?" Although it was awkward, Yun Che had no choice but to tell the truth. "That's right. That was indeed the case. At this moment, although we know which 3 demons are besieging the ruins, we still don't know which demon emperors are leading them and what their purpose is. As a matter of fact, Reverend, please don't blame me for ignoring the 10 major sects in the southwest border, and for sneering at the news that the Devil Emperor came to wipe them out. Our assembly palace is also in a dilemma. Because such news spread all over the sky, we're too tired to deal with it. There are too many fake news. Additionally, our army has encountered too many demon emperors. We really can't distinguish which news is real and which demon emperors are real. Then how many devil emperors do the discussion hall know?" Xiao Hua didn't know much about military affairs, so he couldn't say much. 21! Yun Che blurted out. It was obvious that he had calculated this for a long time. "So many?" Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. Yun Che said with a smile. "Of course it's not 21. If it's really 21, the devil race doesn't need to besiege the ruins. They can just kill their way into the ruins. After all, although the devil emperors aren't devil sovereigns, their strength is comparable to our human race's 7th stage Tao transformation, or even 8th or 9th stage Tao transformation. Even with Reverend Zhao's strength, you've been trapped by the devil emperor for more than 10 years. Tao transformation cultivators like us are simply not a match for the devil emperor. In that case, some of the devil emperors are devil monarchs in disguise? Or maybe the devil emperors have changed their appearance?" Xiao Hua understood and asked probingly. Yun Che nodded. "Indeed. Some of the devil monarchs are very powerful, and their strength can reach the 1st stage of Tao transformation. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to distinguish between the devil emperors and devil monarchs in terms of strength. Also, as Reverend Xiao said, the devil monarch who killed the Eternal Peace Mountain by himself should be one of the 3 great devil races besieging the ruins, the zombie race. This devil race sucks the blood essence of humans. Once harmed by the devil race, they won't die immediately. Instead, they will become zombies without blood essence and consciousness under the control of the devil race. These zombies still have magic power in their bodies, and they can also activate magic treasures and formations to help the devil race kill our human race. Of course, the zombie race is the smallest of the 3 great devil races, but they are also the most difficult to defend against." Hearing this, Xiao Hua said, "Even if these zombies under the control of the zombie race aren't killed, they probably won't be able to come back to life, right?" "Of course." Yun Che knew what Xiao Hua was worried about, so he explained. "Although these zombies still have a little bit of consciousness, their true 3 souls and 6 spirits are no longer complete. Unless there's a great expert from the desolate immortal world who can recover their souls from the blood essence devoured by the devil race, the moment the devil race is killed, these zombies will gradually turn into real zombie race devils and harm the cultivators of the ruins again. Therefore, Reverend Xiao, you don't have to worry that killing the entire Eternal Peace Mountain will bring you any trouble. We've done the same in the past." "Of course." At this point, Yun Che said embarrassedly, "Like Reverend Xiao, killing all the disciples of the Eternal Peace Mountain in one go has never happened before. However, Reverend Xiao," Yun Che said righteously, "even if the discussion hall, no, even if the entire ruins makes things difficult for the Fortune Gate and Reverend Xiao, this Yun and the Xindao sect will stand on Reverend Zhao's side and stand with you against a common enemy. One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions." Xiao Hua smiled. In his heart, he already understood that this Xindao sect's Yun Che naturally came here for official business. But other than official business, he must have something to ask of him. "In that case, many thanks for Sect Master Yun's righteousness. Xiaohua smiled and looked at the Eternal Peace Mountain in the distance. He said, "However, when this Xiao was killing those damn zombies, I saw that the Eternal Peace Mountain's orthodoxy was not easy to pass down, so I had the intention of finding disciples to pass down. So, I took all the orthodoxies of the Eternal Peace Mountain and prepared to pass them down to disciples." Without waiting for Xiaohua to finish speaking, Yunqi immediately raised his right hand and gave him a thumbs up. He praised, "Reverend Xiao is really merciful, which is rare in the ruins. Not only did you let the disciples of the Eternal Peace Mountain rest in peace, but you also put in a lot of effort to find their inheritances. Who wouldn't admire you when they hear this? Especially when you're so decisive. If the news of the Eternal Peace Mountain's destruction spreads, there will definitely be wandering cultivators coming to snatch the cultivation technique Jade Slips. At that time, even if my discussion hall wants to take the Eternal Peace Mountain's inheritance, it won't be possible." Speaking up to here, Yunqi thought for a moment and said, "Reverend Xiao, please wait a moment. Right now, I'll inform the discussion hall first so that Reverend Xiao can take the initiative." As he spoke, Yunqi raised his hand and took out a magic treasure that looked like a pagoda from his summer ring. Along with the incantation, a three-colored brilliance flew out from the magic treasure. After the brilliance spread out, a cloud of mist dispersed from the brilliance. Inside it was a space that was dozens of meters in size. At this time, a hall appeared in the space. Inside the hall, other than some decorations, there were some neatly arranged jade chairs. However, most of these jade chairs were empty. Only a few of the chairs in front had a few young cultivators sitting on them. Sect Master Yun. In the space, a handsome cultivator seemed to have sensed something. He raised his head to look at Yunqi and asked curiously, "You found out about the news of the Eternal Peace Mountain so quickly?" "Sect Master Hua," Yunqi said with a smile. "Admittedly, this Yun came quickly, but is there someone who is even more concerned about the safety of the Eternal Peace Mountain's disciples than this Yun and came earlier than this Yun?" "Oh? Who? Could it be Reverend Xiaohua?" When Sect Master Hua heard this, he hurriedly stood up from the jade chair and said, "Sect Master Yun, is Reverend Xiao beside you?" "Ha ha!" Yunqi laughed and flashed to the side. He invited Xiaohua over and said, "Reverend Xiao, this is Sect Master Hua of the Heavy Flow Sect, who is on duty in the discussion hall today. Behind him are Sect Master Shangguan Su of the Immortal Husbandry Sect, Sect Master Zhang Jing of the Hong Hall, and Sect Master Fei Ping of the Jing Fei Mountain. This one is Xiaohua. Greetings, Sect Masters!" Xiaohua smiled and cupped his hands in greeting. Inside the discussion hall, several other cultivators hurriedly stood up and tidied their clothes. Together with Huafei, they cupped their hands in greeting and said, "We greet Reverend Xiao." Then, Huafei said, "Our discussion hall has admired Reverend Xiao for a long time. When we heard that Reverend Xiao was besieged by the Devil Emperor, we sent several elders to assist the Fortune Gate's disciples in searching for him. Unfortunately, it was to no avail. Now that we heard that Reverend Xiaohua has escaped safely, it is indeed worthy of celebration. This is excellent news for our discussion hall." While Huafei was speaking, dark clouds appeared in the air, blurring Huafei's words. Yunqi, who was standing beside Xiaohua, hurried over and said apologetically, "Reverend Xiao, the ruins is now besieged by the devil race. Not only is the transmission array controlled by the devil race, the other communication channels are also disrupted by the devil race. Today, I will report this matter to the discussion hall. When Reverend Xiao comes to the discussion hall, we will meet again." "Good." Xiaohua nodded and stood beside Yunqi. Yunqi walked to the front of the magic artifact and roughly explained what had happened on the Eternal Peace Mountain. In the end, he said, "In order to kill the Devil Monarch's clone, Reverend Xiao and the Fortune Gate's disciples destroyed the Eternal Peace Mountain's zombie disciples that were under the Devil Race's control. As for the Eternal Peace Mountain's orthodoxy." Speaking up to here, Yunqi's finger moved slightly, and the brilliance of the artifact flashed, causing the situation in the conference hall to dim. Yunqi's face was slightly surprised, and he asked loudly, "What? Sect masters want the Fortune Gate's orthodoxy to be passed down? Yes, the sect leaders' opinions are quite innovative. Fine, then this Yun will discuss with Reverend Xiao, and ask Reverend Xiao to stop this matter. -13. Chapter 41-32. Sect Master Yun, Sect Master Yun. Hua Fei waved his hand helplessly. That's not what I meant. I'm just thanking the Fortune Gate's disciples. All right, since that's the case, this matter is settled. Oh? What did Sect Master Hua say? I can't hear you clearly. Yun Che muttered to himself. Forget it, let's not talk about it anymore. Since the Yong'an Mountain is already like this, there's no need to talk about it anymore. Taoist Xiao has already sent the Fortune Gate's disciples to the Snow/Gate. I'll follow Taoist Xiao. As he spoke, Yun Che reached out and extinguished the light from the magic treasure. When Yun Che held the magic treasure in his hand, he turned around and smiled. Taoist Xiao, you've seen it for yourself. Sect Master Hua is really indulging in fantasy. He wants the Fortune Gate's Yong'an Mountain to be passed down. However, due to the interference in the communication channel, I think he wants Taoist Xiao to bring the Yong'an Mountain out and impart it to someone. No matter what, I think the main hall's suggestion is good. I hope Taoist Xiao can consider it. And Sect Master Hua's suggestion is very creative. This Xiao also feels that it is refreshing to hear. However, since it is the conference hall's request, this Xiao will reluctantly accept. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, the two of them looked at each other and laughed loudly. All right, the matter of the Yong'an Mountain is over. There's no need to talk about it anymore. Yun Che smiled and took out a jade slip. He raised his hand and pointed at it. The jade slip emitted a misty green brilliance, and within this brilliance, the images of 21 devil emperors appeared. Yun Che solemnly looked at Xiao Hua and asked, Spiritual Master, take a look. Which devil emperor is the one that trapped Spiritual Master? Sect Master Yun, please wait a moment, Xiao Hua said as his gaze fell on the images of the 21 devil emperors. After half a cup of tea's time, Xiao Hua shook his head and replied, The devil emperor I met is not among these 21. AI. Yun Che sighed. At this time, he frowned and looked at the magic treasure in his hand. He knew that it was Hua Fei's message, so he ignored it and said, As expected, every time a devil emperor appears, he changes his body. This is the 22nd one. After saying that, Yun Che passed the jade slip to Xiao Hua. I'll have to trouble Spiritual Master to record the image of that devil monarch on this jade slip. Xiao Hua accepted the jade slip and scanned it with his divine sense. He immediately understood what was going on, and recorded the appearance of the devil monarch on the jade slip before returning it to Yun Che. Then, he looked at Yun Che and said thoughtfully, Since the devil monarch wants to trap the ruins, he must have a purpose. If it's just to kill the cultivators of the ruins, there's no need to use so many gimmicks. Every time they appear, they use different devil bodies. I think they're trying to hide their purpose. That's right. Yun Che nodded. This is also the reason why my assembly hall has been unable to figure it out for so many years. This is also the other reason why I wanted to meet Taoist Master. I wonder if Taoist Master Xiao has noticed anything strange from the perspective of an outsider? So, Xiao Hua replied without hesitation. This Xiao feels that the reason why the devil race has surrounded the ruins is for the souls of cultivators. Refining the blood demon artifact? Yun Che didn't believe him and shook his head. I also thought so at the beginning. However, the devil race's blood demon artifact is usually sacrificed with the blood of living souls. Every time there's a great battle, the cultivators of the ruins will also pay attention to the matter of blood sacrifice. However, after the great battle, the devil race didn't use the devil formation to refine the blood demon artifact. Even after so many years, we haven't seen a particularly powerful blood demon artifact. But Xiao Hua hesitated again. However, he only paused for a moment before continuing. The ruins are filled with wandering souls that can't fall into the Yellow Springs. For such wandering souls to be trapped in the ruins by the devil race, there must be a premeditated plan. Even if they haven't refined it now, it doesn't mean they won't do it in the future. Maybe they're waiting until they've killed enough cultivators and gathered enough wandering souls before starting to refine it. Ah? Yun-Che was shocked. Could it be that what Lu Wuxie said is true? Misty School's Lu Wuxie sect master Lu? Xiaohua's eyes flashed as he asked curiously. Yun-Che nodded and said, "Yes. Previously, I guessed that the reason the devil race surrounded the ruins was to refine the blood demon artifact. But later on, I didn't discover any abnormalities, so I started to think about other things. Sect Master Lu always believed that the devil race's goal was souls, because she used the Misty School's secret technique to detect more and more wandering souls in the ruins. Even the disciples of the various sects with different talents also felt that the wandering souls were abnormal. However, the discussion hall never took this matter seriously. Hearing this, Xiaohua understood that the Dao sect's techniques in the ruins probably didn't have a secret technique that specialized in detecting wandering souls. Normal cultivators wouldn't be able to detect the increasing number of wandering souls in the ruins. And Lu Wuxie, who knew the secret technique, couldn't convince other cultivators, so the discussion hall didn't take the wandering souls seriously at all. Looks like I have to report this matter to the discussion hall as soon as possible. As he spoke, Yun-Che naturally reached out his hand to activate the magic treasure. However, looking at the flickering light of the magic treasure, Yun-Che laughed involuntarily and said, "Forget it, let's wait a little longer. I think that old bastard Huafei must have woken up and wants to go back on his words. We won't give him the chance to go back on his words." "That's fine too," Xiaohua said with a smile. "Since the devil race hasn't started using these wandering souls to refine devil artifacts for so many years, I think they won't in the near future. If we chase the devil race away, they won't have a chance at all. Sect Master Yun also doesn't need to report in such a hurry. Actually," Yun-Che changed the topic again and said, "although Taoist Xiao and Sect Master Lu both think so, but I don't dare to agree." "Oh? Could it be that Sect Master Yun found something strange?" Xiaohua asked curiously. "I did find something strange," Yun-Che replied. "For example, the devil race besieged the ruins. Why did the teleportation formation in the ruins malfunction? If they wanted more cultivators, why didn't they make the teleportation formation work properly and attract more cultivators? Secondly, what exactly is the devil formation that besieges the ruins? If it's a blood sacrifice devil formation, why did the devil race only besiege and not attack? Why did they only seal the connection between the ruins and the outside world and not launch a large-scale attack on the ruins? Sect Master Yun's meaning is?" Xiaohua didn't quite understand. Yun-Che explained. "The teleportation formations in the ruins that lead to the cultivation world are either built in the void or in the starry sky. There are even many that are hidden extremely well. If they aren't very clear about these teleportation formations, it wouldn't be easy to seal these teleportation formations and even more impossible to destroy the communication channel." Xiaohua understood and said with a smile, "Could it be that Sect Master Yun suspects that there are humans in the ruins who are colluding with the devil race? If there are, then they must be experts of the Dao transformation realm." Yun-Che nodded slightly. "And there are 120 sects in the ruins. I don't know which Dao transformation expert is such a scum. Cooperating with the devil race is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. Especially cooperating with the devil emperor. I think there won't be such a stupid cultivator," Xiaohua said with a smile. "Yes. The key point is, if it's for wandering souls, there's even less need for human cultivators to cooperate with the devil race." Yun-Che nodded. "So following this train of thought, I suspect that the devil race besieged the ruins for so long for other purposes," Yun-Che explained again. "However, it's not convenient for me to explain this to other fellow Taoists in the ruins. It's not convenient for other fellow Taoists, but it's convenient for me?" Xiaohua was a little surprised. "Because this matter involves the purpose of my Shindao sect's establishment in the ruins. It also involves some of the ruins' secrets. If I were to leak this out, it would cause a rift between my Shindao sect and the other sects in the ruins. It would also cause the main hall to be dissatisfied with my Shindao sect. Yunche did not hide anything from Xiaohua. Xiaohua was slightly taken aback and asked meaningfully, "Then why did Sect Master Yun tell me?" "Because this Yun came to find Taoist Xiao to form an alliance with the Fortune Gate. More importantly, I want Taoist Xiao to become my Divine Saber Gate's guest elder." Up until now, Yunche had finally revealed his true purpose in coming here. Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand, saying, "I'm just an outsider. I only came to the ruins because of an error in the transmission array. When the devil race is defeated and the devil formation surrounding the ruins is removed, I will leave the ruins with the Fortune Gate disciples." "Since that's the case, what's the point of forming an alliance with the Shindao sect? There's no value in Sect Master Yun inviting me to be your guest elder. First of all," Yunche looked at Xiaohua and said sincerely, "Taoist Xiao, don't be too optimistic about defeating the devil race. My ruins and the devil race have been fighting for several hundred years, and Taoist Xiao has been in the ruins for more than a decade. When has the devil race ever shown signs of defeat? The devil formation surrounding the ruins has never made any mistakes. Therefore, I estimate that even if this stalemate continues for another 1,000 years, there might not be any results." "What else?" Xiaohua smiled. "Could it be related to the Shindao sect's purpose in establishing a sect in the ruins?" "That's right." Yunche nodded. "My Shindao sect's founder was a disciple of the Supreme White Sect. He naturally came to this remote ruins to establish a sect, and this purpose is only known by each generation's Shindao sect master. And this purpose is very likely to be the same as the devil race surrounding the ruins." "Oh? Then, what is your Shindao sect's purpose in coming to the ruins?" Xiaohua was even more puzzled. Yunche smiled bitterly. "If I knew, would I still need to discuss with Taoist Xiao here?" "Ah? You? Aren't you the Shindao sect's sect master?" Xiaohua was shocked. "Of course I'm the Shindao sect's sect master." Yunche's face was filled with shame as he replied, "But my Shindao sect's purpose in coming to the ruins, I don't know when it was lost. When the previous generation's sect master passed the position of sect master to me, he only said this. As for the specific purpose, he doesn't know either. Damn it, there's such a strange thing." Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I can't do anything about it," Yunche replied. "After all, it's already lost. Every generation of sect masters used their power to search for it, but there were no clues. And this time, the devil race surrounding the ruins made me think of this matter. After confirming it left and right, I'm even more certain that the devil race and my Shindao sect have the same purpose." -13. Chapter 41-33. "So?" Xiaohua asked. "Sect Master Yun is afraid that after the Shindao sect's goal is exposed, there will be a rift between the Shindao sect and the other sects in the ruins, so he wants to form an alliance with my Fortune Gate. He even wants me to join hands with you to resist the threats of the other sects." "Indeed?" Yunche nodded. "The Fortune Gate is now famous in the ruins, and Taoist Zhao's battle with the Devil Emperor has also spread far and wide. Especially Taoist Zhao's 3 friends, they have already become godlike existences in the ruins. If I don't form an alliance with the Fortune Gate, can I find anyone more suitable? Sect Master Yun, this is your ruin's internal affairs." Xiaohua didn't relent. "It's not suitable for my Fortune Gate to participate. Actually, Taoist Xiao doesn't need to worry too much." Yunche smiled. "The Shindao sect and the Fortune Gate's alliance is just to borrow the Fortune Gate's prestige. My Shindao sect may not necessarily start a war with other sects, and of course, we won't let the Fortune Gate's butcher's knife cut the human race's fellow Taoists. As for Taoist Xiao and his friends, we only need to intimidate the Misty School's Lu Wuxie and the Incense School's Mo Lianxi. Sect Master Yun has a good plan." Xiaohua sighed, looking at the clouds in the sky as if he was thinking. Yunche hurriedly smiled and said, "It's nothing, it's just a fox borrowing the tiger's might, please help me. I also don't dare to trust other human cultivators. If I don't deal with them properly, wouldn't I be walking into a trap? But I'm more suspicious, Xiaohua said with a bitter smile. Based on Taoist Zhao's background, you're naturally the most suspicious. But Taoist Zhao's friends are the devil race's nemesis. No matter how stupid the devil race is, they wouldn't collude with their natural nemesis, right? That's true. Xiaohua nodded slightly, expressing his agreement. Hearing that Xiaohua had the intention to relent, Yunqi struck while the iron was hot. If the Fortune Gate and my Xindao sect ally, and Taoist Xiao becomes my Xindao sect's guest elder, my Xindao sect will definitely provide the Fortune Gate's disciples with a complete cultivation technique. Don't worry, Taoist Master Xiao. My Xindao sect's cultivation method is the real deal. It comes from the Taibai sect and is definitely 100 times better than that of the Yong'an Mountain. Also, if the Devil Clan is defeated in the future and the ruins regains its connection with the outside world, Taoist Master Xiao will have to use the star chart to return to the original realm through the teleportation array. Coincidentally, I have the Taibai sect's latest complete star chart, which can help Taoist Master Xiao. Of course, if Taoist Master Xiao feels that this is not enough, you can also state your conditions. Let's see if my Xindao sect can satisfy you. Is this alliance long-term or short-term? Is the defeat of the demons the limit? Xiaohua asked. Of course, it would be best if it's a long-term one, Yunqi said with a smile. But if Spiritual Master Xiao feels that it's too long, a short-term one is fine too. Xiaohua pondered for a moment, and felt that this kind of alliance wouldn't bring him any harm. It also didn't require him to make a move on behalf of the Xindao sect. It was just a deterrent effect. The so-called Fortune sect's disciples all came from his space. If he felt that something was wrong, he could just put these Fortune sect's disciples into his space. He was all alone, so what did he have to fear of the Xindao sect? Moreover, the ruins was the higher realm. Who knew if he would need the help of the Xindao sect or even the Taibai sect in the future? This alliance would only bring him benefits and no harm. Thus, Xiaohua smiled and said, Since it's an alliance, then it's good to be long-term. Why do you need to do something short-term? Great! Yunqi raised his right hand and smiled. This Yun knows that Taoist Master Xiao is the most forthright. Don't be anxious, don't be anxious. Xiaohua smiled and waved his hand. Sect Master Yun's conditions are very good, but they are all conditions for the alliance. If you want this Xiao to be a guest elder, these conditions are still not enough. Oh? Then what does Taoist Master Xiao need? If my Xindao sect has them, we'll definitely offer them to you with both hands. Yunqi didn't put down his hand, and asked with a smile. This? Xiaohua was also a bit speechless. He needed the primordial spirit cultivation technique, and now that he had already obtained the inheritance of the 9 sects, these techniques might not be as high level as the Xindao sects, but he didn't need to cultivate them extremely well. These techniques were already enough. Moreover, the Xindao sect would also provide him with techniques. Suddenly, Xiaohua's eyes lit up, and said with a smile, This Xiao is refining a kind of magic treasure. Currently, I'm lacking the innate mother of earth and innate mother of wood. I wonder if the Xindao sect can provide them? Hearing Xiaohua's words, an extremely strange expression appeared on Yunqi's face, and he looked at Xiaohua with a bit of disbelief. What's wrong? Xiaohua rubbed his nose and said with a smile, Could it be that Sect Master Yun feels that this Xiao is asking for too much? No, Yunqi hurriedly explained. This Yun didn't mean that. This Yun only felt that. Taoist Xiao becoming my Xindao sect's guest elder was destined by the heavens, and not this Yun's idea on a whim. As he spoke, Yunqi took out an octagonal magic treasure that looked like a starfish from his spatial ring. That magic treasure even seemed to be alive, and its antennae slightly trembled. The magic treasure fell in midair, and a kind of water-like fluctuation spread out in all directions. Then, Yunqi took out a jade slip and handed it to Xiaohua, saying, Taoist Xiao, this is this Yun's magic treasure, Feijing. This jade slip contains the simple method of controlling Feijing. Take a look at it first, and take away the innate Mother of Earth. This Yun isn't willing to give this magic treasure to fellow Taoists. Ah? How is that possible? Sect Master Yun really has the innate Mother of Earth? Xiaohua was also dumbfounded. This was the innate Mother of Earth, and he had searched for so many years without any news. Today, he only wanted to make things difficult for Yun Che. How could it appear in front of him so easily? Eh? Taoist Xiao. You don't believe this, Yun? Yun Che's tone carried a hint of blame, but his eyes were also filled with pride. No, no. Xiaohua took the jade slip, and used his divine sense to scan it while waving his hand. This Xiao is too surprised. This is the innate Mother of Earth, a natural object, something this Xiao has always dreamed of. I didn't expect Sect Master Yun to take it out without even blinking an eye. Hee hee. Yun Che laughed. This innate Mother of Earth was obtained by this old man and Lu Wuxia in the Luo God Forbidden Area 3,000 years ago. However, this object is not very useful to this old man's cultivation, and natural objects are not useful to ordinary disciples. If I didn't meet Taoist Xiao today, I'm afraid that in a few hundred years, this old man would have given this object to the Moon Palace. Then, thank you, Sect Master Yun. Xiaohua looked at the jade slip, returned it to Yun Che, and thanked him. Yun Che waved his hand generously and said, You don't have to be so polite, Taoist Xiao. From now on, you are a guest elder of my Shinao sect, and we are family. This Yun doesn't dare to boast too much, but to say that the Shinao sect is the leader of the Shinao sect is not an exaggeration. Moreover, my Shinao sect has many treasures, and what I gave Taoist Xiao is nothing. What's more, my Shinao sect is a branch of the White sect. When Taoist Xiao reaches the 9th level of the Tao transformation realm and rushes into the 9th level of the heavens, this Yun can recommend Taoist Xiao to the White Star realm of the White sect, which is more likely than the Moon realm. Then this Xiao thanks Sect Master Yun in advance. Xiaohua smiled and looked at the Feijing that was swimming in the air. Yun Che understood Xiaohua's meaning. He raised his hand, and the Feijing fell in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua grabbed it, and cast the spell. Aoo! The Feijing actually let out a series of howls, and then clouds like bubbles appeared on the surface of the Feijing's body. As the clouds boiled, the Feijing once again emitted an earthy yellow brilliance. The light was so sharp that Xiaohua couldn't help but feel a stabbing pain when he looked at it. Profound green light! Xiaohua was overjoyed. He immediately took out his spatial ring, and his mind and divine sense fell on the light. See! Even though Xiaohua's divine sense was as condensed as steel, when it fell on the profound green light, it was still easily pierced by this innate treasure. Xiaohua didn't dare to pay too much attention to his divine sense, and his mind also felt as if it was burning. When Xiaohua clenched his teeth, the profound green light and clouds in front of him disappeared. Yun Che was dumbfounded. He looked at the ordinary spatial ring in Xiaohua's hand and said in a low voice, Xiao! Taoist Xiao, your spatial ring can actually store an innate Earth Mother? Ha ha! Xiaohua smiled and put away the spatial ring. He nodded and said, This Zhao's spatial ring is definitely not an ordinary spatial ring. All right. Yun Che thought that this was Xiaohua's secret, so he withdrew his gaze from the spatial ring. He took out another spatial ring from his bosom and handed it to Xiaohua, saying, This is the condition that I promised Taoist Xiao. I asked Taoist Xiao to accept it. This Xiao thanks Sect Master Yun on behalf of the Fortune Gate disciples. Xiaohua said with a smile as he received the spatial ring. But when he swept his divine sense over the spatial ring, he was stunned. He said in surprise, Sect Master Yun, the things in this spatial ring seem to have increased by quite a bit. Hee hee. Yun Che said with a smile. This Yun has a request from Taoist Xiao, so naturally I have to show enough sincerity. Since Taoist Xiao is so sincere, this Yun will naturally give this extra to Taoist Xiao. Xiaohua certainly wouldn't be polite with Yun Che. He took the spatial ring and smacked his lips, saying, The Shinao sect is really rich and imposing. Taoist Xiao is wrong. Yun Che was also in a good mood. He said, "It should be our Shindao sect." "Ha, yes, yes." Xiaohua nodded. "In the future, my fortune gate can also take advantage of the Shindao sect's glory." Yun Che smiled and flew into the air, saying, "Let's go. Taoist Xiao, accompany this Yun to the snow/sect and let this Yun see the bravery of the fortune gate disciples." "All right." Xiaohua followed behind Yun Che and said, "As long as Sect Master Yun leads the way, this Xiao is born with a poor sense of direction." Poor sense of direction? Yun Che was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "Taoist Xiao is a Tao transformation cultivator. How can you not know the way?" Xiaohua shrugged and said helplessly, "There's no other way. This is innate. This Xiao can't explain it clearly." "All right, Taoist Xiao, please." Yun Che really hadn't seen a cultivator who couldn't even know the way. At this time, Yun Che's expression changed slightly. He smiled and took out the communication artifact again. Looking at the flashing brilliance on it, he said, "Old Hua is anxious. If this was a normal situation, this Yun would ignore him and not look for him again. Today, he kept sending messages, so he must have come to his senses." Saying this, Yun Che formed a seal on the pagoda-shaped communication artifact. The scene of the meeting hall in the clouds appeared again. Without waiting for Hua Fei to speak, Yun Che said with a smile, "Old Hua, isn't it the Yong'an Mountains orthodoxy? Since you've agreed, don't go back on your word." "Yun Che," Hua Fei said in a bad mood, "when did this old man say that he would let the Fortune Gate inherit the Yong'an Mountains orthodoxy? You just wanted to give face to Taoist Xiao. Of course, this is nothing. The Yong'an Mountain is located at the southwest border. Their cultivation technique is very strange and ordinary cultivators may not be able to cultivate it. If this matter is not brought up in the meeting hall, no one will think too much about it. Thank you, Sect Master Hua." Yun Che was in a good mood. He cupped his hands and smiled. "This old man is looking for you for another matter." Hua Fei waved his hand and said with a strange expression. Yun Che was surprised and asked curiously, "What is it?" When Sect Master Yun turned off the communication artifact, the meeting hall received news that the devil race is going to attack the Xianchao Peak. However, this news hasn't been confirmed yet. Hua Fei replied indifferently, "This will want Sect Master Yun to stay away from the Xianchao Peak." Unfortunately, Sect Master Yun's communication artifact has been turned off. The devil race is going to invade our Shanao sect? Yun Che frowned in disbelief. How is this possible? Hua Fei nodded. Exactly. This Hua also doesn't dare to believe it, so I've already sent my disciples to investigate. However, if this news is true, then it's time for the devil race to reveal their true intentions. The final battle is probably not far away. -13. Chapter 41-34. Alright, that's why I'm looking for you. Sect Master Yun, you can make your own decision. After saying that, Hua Fei quickly closed the communication channel without any delay. Sect Master Yun? Xiaohua reminded. It's better to believe it than not. Sect Master should return to the Xianchao Peak to take a look. There's no need. Yun Che waved his hand and said, If the devil race dared to invade my Shanao sect, they would have already invaded the ruins. If I'm not mistaken, this news is fake. We should go to the snow/school. Xiaohua didn't fly forward and said with a smile, Sect Master Yun, don't forget the tragedy of Mount Yong'an and the snow/school. If the devil race really wants to attack the Shandao sect, it won't be good if Sect Master Yun doesn't stay on the Xianchao Peak. Hearing Xiaohua's advice and thinking about the tragedy of Mount Yong'an, Yun Che was a little hesitant. He thought for a while and said embarrassedly, I just formed an alliance with the Fortune Gate. Now that the Fortune Gate is helping the snow/school, it's not appropriate for me to not go. Besides, I promised Spiritual Master Xiao. Sect Master Yun, you don't have to make it difficult, Xiaohua said with a smile. Snow/school has a few good friends and hundreds of thousands of disciples. There shouldn't be any trouble. I just want to accompany Sect Master Yun to take a look. Actually, I have other things to do. Since Sect Master Yun doesn't want to go, I won't go either. Oh? Spiritual Master Xiao, what else do you want? Yun Che was grateful that Xiao Hua gave him a way out. He didn't think that Xiao Hua would give him an answer. Who would have thought that Xiao Hua would reply without hesitation? This Xiao has always wanted to visit the Misty Sect in Ping River. Unfortunately, this Xiao had just arrived at the southwest border when I had a battle with the Devil Emperor. Now I have come to Mount Yong'an. Now that I finally have some free time, I'm going to Ping River. He he. A strange expression appeared on Yun Che's face. He blinked his eyes and said with a helpless expression, Spiritual Master Xiao, the moment you came to the ruins, you wanted to visit Lu Wuxie. Are you looking down on me and Mo Lianqi? Or are you after Sect Master Lu's beauty? That Lu Wuxie is even prettier than the sect leader of Yong'an Mountain. Ugh! Xiao Hua was originally a little confused by Yun Che's expression, but after hearing Yun Che's words, the image of a beautiful woman's curvaceous figure unconsciously appeared in his mind. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, Sect Master Yun must be joking. When this Xiao heard the name of the Misty School, this Xiao didn't know the name of the Misty School's sect master, much less that Lu Wuxie was a female cultivator. Looks like Spiritual Master Xiao really has some other secrets. Yun Che smiled mysteriously and waved his hand. Since that's the case, this Yun won't ask any more. Let's go. I was just about to take the teleportation array. Since you have no sense of direction, we can travel together. When we reach there, I will find a Shinao sect disciple to accompany you to Ping River. Good! Xiao Hua clapped his hands. Thank you for your trouble, Sect Master Yun. Then, the two of them moved and turned into rainbows in midair as they flew towards a certain place. More than 10 days later, on top of a towering mountain range, in a lush forest, Xiao Hua flew out with a female disciple wearing a clean Taoist robe. That female disciple's appearance wasn't particularly beautiful, but her brows were filled with elegance, and there was also a kind of purity in her eyes. As soon as the two of them flew out of the forest, that disciple respectfully pointed into the distance and said, Senior Xiao, 1,000 miles ahead of us is the mountain gate of my fragrant cult. There are no teleportation arrays that can be used within this distance. I will have to trouble Senior to fly there with this junior. No problem. Xiao Hua said with a smile. There are many teleportation arrays in the ruins. It only takes a few days to travel a few million miles. The realm this old man is in doesn't have any teleportation arrays. If you want to travel 1,000,000 miles, you either have to use a flying magic tool or fly there yourself. This 1,000 miles is just a stroll in the park for this old man. At this point, Xiao Hua was slightly stunned, as if he had thought of something. The woman pursed her lips and said with a smile, There are also benefits to not having a teleportation array. Frequently using the flying technique is extremely good for condensing true qi. I presume that Taoist's unpredictable divine ability is cultivated from these subtle aspects. That's right, Bo Yun. Xiao Hua said. In the realm this old man is in, there are often some flying demonic beasts that can be used. However, in this old man's ruins, not only are there no flying demonic beasts, there aren't even demonic beasts used by cultivators. Shh. Hearing Xiao Hua's question, the female disciple of the Misty School named Bo Yun's expression changed slightly. She whispered, Senior Xiao, please no. The ruins are in the cultivation world that belongs to the Moon God Palace. Moon beasts hate demonic beasts, so there aren't many demonic beasts in the ruins. Except for some low-level demonic beasts that can be hunted by my Dao sect disciples and obtain demonic cores, there aren't many demonic beasts that are particularly powerful. As for the Tai Bai astral realm that is closest to the Moon God Palace, according to what this junior knows, there are many demonic beasts. The Dao sect cultivators there can cultivate together with the demonic beasts and fight together. There are even many wonderful legends. Sweat. Seeing a string of little stars appear in Bo Yun's eyes, Xiao Hua immediately understood what this little girl was thinking, so he coughed a few times and said, Miss Bo, please lead the way. Yes, this junior understands. Bo Yun stuck out her tongue and hurriedly urged the cloud to rush in front of Xiaohua. However, it was only a moment before she made a fuss again. Oh, this junior forgot to send a message to the sect master. Senior Xiao is such a famous cultivator, if I don't send a message, it will break the etiquette. Saying that, Bo Yun hurriedly raised her hand and was about to take out the communication talisman from the sumru ring on her finger. When Xiaohua heard about etiquette, he felt a headache coming. He hurriedly stopped her and said, Miss Bo, this old man hates etiquette the most. It's better if you don't send a message. Hee, it turns out that Senior Xiao also hates etiquette. When Bo Yun heard this, her face lit up with joy. Me too. When this junior was young, every time a senior came to visit Ping River, this junior had to stand in the air with a group of sisters to greet them. No matter if it was windy or raining, or if it was under the sun, I couldn't use my magic power. There were several times when my sister's skin was tanned. That's right, Xiaohua said with a smile. A visit is just a visit, why make it so grand? Then this junior won't send a message. Bo Yun stuck out her tongue with a smile. Otherwise, once senior leaves, there might be young disciples slandering senior behind your back. It seems like you did this a lot when you were young. Xiaohua smiled and pointed at Bo Yun. Hee, I accidentally exposed myself. Bo Yun said with a bit of coquettishness. But when we arrive at the sect, senior has to explain for this junior that it was senior who didn't want to send a message. Let's go. Xiaohua unfolded his Taoist robe and a gust of wind wrapped around Bo Yun's thin figure. He said, With your dilly-dallying like this, I'm afraid you won't be able to fly home even if it's dark today. Gidge. Sensing her body moving like lightning, Bo Yun actually giggled. She knew that Xiaohua was joking with her. 1,000 miles of land was covered in just a moment. When more than 10 large cities appeared on the ground in the distance, Xiaohua knew that this must be the Misty School. Xiaohua's figure stopped in the air. His gaze swept across the ground, and his eyes actually revealed a trace of surprise. Xiaohua's figure was a boundless mountainous area. On the mountainous area, there were more than 10 cities with different shapes. Between these cities, there was a river that separated them. Above the river, there was a mist that looked like it was evaporating. Looking at these more than 10 large cities, they were built with large bluestone stones. The bluestone stones were engraved with runes. These runes emitted various colors of brilliance under the sun. Although it was faint, as the brilliance flashed, an obscure fluctuation attracted countless amounts of world's origin chi to descend. All of the large cities were shrouded in a layer of faint mist. Under the mist, there were tens of thousands of different forms of the world. Whether it was an endless stream of horses and carriages, or a weaving stream of people, it was noisy and bustling. Xiaohua didn't open his illusion breaker eyes. He only used his divine sense to sweep across. He had already sensed that the world's origin chi within a few thousand miles was abnormally dense. Not only was the world's origin chi of water flowing on the ground like water dragons, even the large cities had a dense earth origin chi of heaven and earth like a black turtle nailed to the ground. A kind of majestic feeling was born out of thin air, as if a giant mountain was standing in front of Xiaohua's eyes. See, Xiaohua's Misty School's sect protecting array actually gave him the feeling of seeing a mountain peak on the flat ground. He couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He thought to himself, the Misty School's array is indeed powerful. This water flow should be a transformation of the innate divine restriction array. Those large cities are also the structure of the Earth Clan Soul Condensing Array. Of course, these two arrays can't be considered complete. They aren't even 30% of the divine restriction array. However, the Misty School was able to ingeniously combine these two arrays. It is really rare. The Misty School is indeed worthy of being one of the 3 great schools of the ruins. I just don't know, is this Misty School related to the Misty School in this Zhao's memory? Boom boom boom. Just as Xiaohua was thinking, dazzling sparks flew out from the large cities at the same time. These sparks landed in the air and transformed into the words, "Welcome Spiritual Master Xiao to the Misty School." Then, woo woo! There was a burst of sobbing sound of water. water vapor flew out from the Ping River. This water vapor rushed into the air and burst open. Within 100 miles, petals condensed from water vapor flashed under the sunlight, sparkling and translucent. Ai, in the end there is still a guard of honor. Seeing this, how could Xiao Hua not know that this was the Misty School welcoming him? He also understood in his heart that since he left the Misty School's teleportation array, even if Bo Yun didn't send a message, how could the disciple guarding the teleportation array not report his whereabouts to the school? Moreover, he didn't see any patrolling disciples along the way, so of course they were deliberately avoiding him. Following a burst of music from the central city, a waterfall that was several miles long flew out from the city. This waterfall was like a grassland blown by the spring wind. Grass and flowers were born from the waterfall and quickly spread out in the air. In the blink of an eye, it landed below Xiao Hua's feet. At the same time, a voice that was even more beautiful than the music came from the waterfall. Misty School's Lu Wuxie greets Spiritual Master Xiao. -13. Chapter 41:35. Then, without waiting for the sound to dissipate, countless grass and flowers flew out from the waterfall and gathered in the air to form a human figure more than 10 zhang tall. The human figure slowly shrank. The grass turned into white skin, and the flowers turned into a spring beauty. In just the blink of an eye, a charming woman wearing colorful clothes appeared in front of Xiao Hua. Her lips were slightly curled, and she had a faint smile on her face. The woman's gaze landed on the somewhat dumbstruck Xiao Hua's face. Then, she smiled sweetly. This smile was unparalleled. It was as if a group of butterflies had spread their wings from the corner of the woman's eyebrows, taking away the color of the entire world. Behind the woman, the flowers and plants were moving and clouds were being born. Tensome men and women of different ages were dressed in different clothes. Their faces were filled with curiosity, as their gazes fell on Xiao Hua's body. Sect Master Lu. Xiao Hua was a little absent-minded, and almost stuttered. But in an instant, he shook his head and came to his senses. A wry smile appeared on his face as he cupped his hands and said, Fortune Gates Xiao Hua greets Sect Master Lu. But Sect Master Lu's joke is a little too big. Hee. The woman's lips trembled slightly as she replied, I know that Taoist Xiao doesn't like etiquette, so I didn't dare to make it public. But since Taoist Xiao is coming to my Misty School for the first time, how can I not leave a deep impression on Taoist Xiao? All right. Xiao Hua smiled. Sect Master Lu has left a deep impression on me. I'm afraid it won't be easy for me to forget. That's good. Lu Wuxie stretched out her hand, and a cloud-like handkerchief appeared, covering her mouth. She raised her other hand and said, These are my Misty School's elders and hall masters. When they heard that the famous Taoist Xiao was coming, they were all excited and came out to welcome him. I had no choice but to bring them here. I am Xiao Hua, greetings fellow Taoists. Xiao Hua naturally couldn't be negligent, and greeted everyone with a smile. We greet Taoist Xiao. Seeing that Xiao Hua was extremely humble, which was very different from his reputation, the group of cultivators were also happy and bowed. First, a simple greeting. I'll continue later. Lu Wuxie's voice sounded very graceful, but her tone was unquestionable. Spiritual Master Xiao, please come with me. Sect Leader Lu, please. Xiao Hua raised his hand, and a series of chimes rang out. The flowers and plants in the air swayed, and Xiao Hua, Lu Wuxie, and the rest landed in the center of the city. Under the clouds and mist, the scenery in the city was naturally different from what one could see outside. The palaces, pavilions, and flowers were all incomparably exquisite. The male and female disciples flying around in the scenery were all dragons and phoenixes among men. They were even more beautiful than in a painting. When Xiao Hua landed, there was another huge palace. There weren't many decorations in this palace, and there weren't any ordinary tables. There were only all kinds of spirit herbs and spirit flowers. Even the walls of the palace were painted with countless strange flowers and plants. It was really a kingdom of flowers. Looking at the sky above the palace, there was a rising sun hanging high in the sky, and layers of clouds floating in the sky. A cool breeze brushed past one's face, and bursts of flower fragrance assailed one's nostrils. Xiao Hua looked around and sighed. Sect Leader Lu, this Xiao has guessed countless times what it would be like to enter the Misty School, but I've never thought that the Misty School would be like this. Oh? Why did Spiritual Master Xiao guess countless times? Could it be that Spiritual Master Xiao has long wanted to come to my Misty School? Lu Wuxia's two innocent eyes stared at Xiao Hua with a puzzled expression. Xiao Hua smiled. Indeed. I won't hide it from Sect Leader Lu, this Xiao also has a Misty School in this Xiao's memory. However, this Xiao doesn't remember what that Misty School looks like. So when this Xiao heard that there was a Misty School in ruins, this Xiao naturally wanted to come and visit Sect Leader Lu. So that's how it is. Lu Wuxia nodded and asked probingly. But looking at Spiritual Master Zhao's expression, it seems like you're disappointed. There's disappointment, but there's also a pleasant surprise. Xiao Hua smiled. Ping Zhang's Misty School doesn't seem to be the Misty School that this Xiao was looking for. However, Sect Leader Lu's Misty School has opened this Xiao's eyes. Hee, that's good. Lu Wuxia covered her mouth and smiled again. She looked around and said, Spiritual Master Xiao, other than coming to see if my Misty School is the Misty School in Spiritual Master Zhao's memory, is there anything else? Naturally, I want to exchange my cultivation with Sect Leader Lu. I hope that Sect Leader Lu's experience can give this Xiao some enlightenment. Xiao Hua smiled and replied. It's inevitable that we'll interact with each other. I heard that Spiritual Master Xiao came from outside the realm, so I've always wanted to visit. Later, I heard that the Fortune Gate's disciples are brave and good at fighting, much stronger than the disciples of ruins, so I'm even more envious. Lu Wuxia said again. However, before that, the elders and hall masters have many questions that they want to ask Spiritual Master Xiao. I hope that Spiritual Master Xiao will not be stingy with his guidance. After saying that, Lu Wuxia waved her hand and dozens of flower buds appeared in the hall. These flower buds bloomed, revealing a pink jade chair. Lu Wuxia smiled and said, Spiritual Master Xiao, please sit. Sect Leader Lu, please. Xiao Hua politely raised his hand and the two of them sat down. The elders and hall masters of the Misty School also sat down. Xiao Hua looked around and said with a smile, Hee, fellow Taoists, please speak. This Xiao will tell you everything he knows. Spiritual Master Xiao, which realm did you come from? A woman hurriedly said. This concubine heard that Spiritual Master came from the 3 continents, but this concubine searched the Moon God realm, Tai-Bai Star realm, Gungri Morning realm and other nearby realms, but there seems to be no record of the 3 continents. Ha, fellow Taoist's first question has stumped this Xiao, Xiao Hua said with a smile. This Xiao was originally teleporting, but the teleportation channel suddenly changed. This Xiao came out of the collapsed teleportation channel with great difficulty, but was already in the ruins. This Xiao doesn't know where the 3 continents are, and where the ruins are. Why is this Xiao doing his best to fight against the devil race with the disciples of ruins? It's because I want to quickly find the teleportation formation to return to the 3 continents. Ha, so Spiritual Master Xiao is already lost. An even prettier female cultivator said with a smile. However, if Spiritual Master Xiao doesn't know where the 3 continents are, how can you find the teleportation formation? Without the teleportation formation, with Spiritual Master Zhao's strength at the 9th stage of the Dao transformation realm, it's impossible for him to not get lost while flying in the starry sky. Yes. Xiao Hua nodded and said with a smile. This Xiao knows all this, but it's hard to leave one's homeland. If there's a trace of opportunity, this Xiao will look for it. Even if this Xiao fails, this Xiao will still try. Also, an older male cultivator asked again. Spiritual Master Xiao, it's said that when you came to the ruins, you seemed to be alone. How did you suddenly get 100,000 Fortune Gate disciples? What kind of spatial magic treasure do you have in your hand that can hold so many people? This? Xiao Hua hesitated for a moment, then raised his hand and took out the Kunlun mirror. He said with a smile, "This Zhao's magic treasure is called Kunlun mirror? Clear sky mirror? It's really this supreme treasure? How is this possible?" Before Xiaohua could speak, the group of Misty School cultivators couldn't help but cry out in surprise. Even Lu Wuxia's eyes revealed a strange look. After the group of cultivators recovered from their shock, they looked at Lu Wuxia, obviously afraid of something. Lu Wuxia raised her hand and pointed at the ground. Countless tender leaves flew out and turned into a green whirlwind that covered the entire hall. Then, Lu Wuxia asked softly, "Spiritual Master Xiao, do the 3 continents belong to the Wenchang Sage Domain or the Heavens Equal Dao Realm?" You. Which supreme treasure is this? Where did you get it from? Wenchang Sage Domain? Heavens Equal Dao Realm? Xiaohua was stunned. He knew where these 2 realms were. He smiled and said, "Everyone is wrong. I's magic treasure is the heaven-raising mirror. It has nothing to do with the Kunlun mirror or the clear sky mirror." As he said that, Xiaohua circulated his magic power, and the Kunlun mirror emitted a faint yellow light. Oh! Looking at the Kunlun mirror's light, Lu Wuxia's eyes revealed a look of understanding. She smiled and said, "So it's not a divine item like the Kunlun mirror or the clear sky mirror. You really gave I a fright. That's..." Xiaohua kept the Kunlun mirror and said with a smile, "I's just a Dao actualization realm cultivator. How could I get such a divine item?" "But..." Xiaohua's tone changed again, and he said curiously, "In my 3 continents, there seems to be a legend of the Kunlun mirror and the clear sky mirror. But these 2 divine items seem to be 2 different things. Everyone, why did you call out 2 names when you saw this inconspicuous magic treasure of mine?" This? The group of cultivators hesitated again. Lu Wuxia thought for a while and said with a smile, "From what I know, the Wenchang Sage Domain has the clear sky mirror, and the Heavens Equal Dao Realm has the Kunlun mirror. These 2 are supreme treasures of the realm. But these 2 supreme treasures are exactly the same. Even their power and effects are the same. The 2 realms have caused many waves because of this." Taoist Xiao suddenly took out a spatial magic treasure that is similar to these 2 supreme treasures. "Naturally, I was shocked. Sigh, Taoist Xiao, I really hope that you came from these 2 realms. Just by relying on the supreme treasures of the realms, I'm afraid that you can scare the devil race away. Unfortunately, my ruins is just an extremely remote corner of the cultivation world." "I see." Xiaohua smiled. Although he understood why the cultivators of the Misty School called the Kunlun mirror by 2 names, he was even more confused. In the hidden Immortal continent, the Kunlun mirror was clearly the Kunlun mirror, and the clear sky mirror was clearly the clear sky mirror. Although Xiaohua had never seen what the clear sky mirror looked like, looking at Sun Jian's appearance, these 2 magic treasures were probably different. Of course, what made Xiaohua even more confused was that he clearly had the Kunlun mirror in his hand, and the Immortal Emperor of the Immortal Palace also had the clear sky mirror. Why were there also the clear sky mirror and the Kunlun mirror in the Wenchang Sage Domain and the Heavens Equal Dao Realm? Could it be that the one in his hand was a fake? Forget it. I don't care if it's fake or not." After thinking for a moment, Xiaohua smiled. He didn't have any foundation. Obtaining such a magic treasure was already extremely lucky. Who cared if it was real or not? -13. Chapter 41-36. Hearing Lu Wuxia's words, Xiaohua smiled and said to Lu Wuxia, "Sect Master Lu, don't be impatient. Although there aren't any famous cultivators in the ruins, the unity of the cultivators in the ruins is what we rely on the most. Hundreds of sects will work together to resist the demons. If 1 year isn't enough, then 10 years, then 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. As long as one of us is alive, as long as this person is still alive, we won't let the demons take a single step into the ruins." "Good!" Lu Wuxia clapped her hands and praised. Our human race has such integrity, as Taoist Xiao said. We will definitely be able to keep the demons out of the ruins. Sect Master Lu, you flatter me, Xiao Hua said humbly. This Xiao is just saying. On the front line of the war, the disciples of the ruins used their blood and lives to carry out the mission. They are the true integrity of the human race. That's right, Taoist Xiao is right, Lu Wuxia said in admiration. I have always been thinking and hoping that the Moon God Palace or other realms would be able to help us. However, I didn't expect that the one who can truly resist the demons is ourselves. Lu Wuxia asked again. That's right, I also have a question. Who was the demon emperor that trapped Taoist Xiao that day? What about the fierce battle that day? Can Taoist Xiao tell us in detail? Of course. Xiao Hua nodded and told them about the fierce battle at the White Cloud Monastery. Finally, after some thought, he also told them about the battle at Mount Yong'an. The cultivators were dumbfounded. After all, they had heard of the strength of the zombies and had even fought against the demons of the zombies. However, they had never seen a demon emperor that could turn all the disciples of Mount Yong'an into zombies. The death of hundreds of thousands of disciples was nothing in their eyes. However, when they thought of hundreds of thousands or millions of disciples being controlled by a witch and doing things they didn't know, these cultivators couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Their expressions changed slightly. Seeing this, Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand. It's said that a foot-tall demon is 10 feet tall. However, demons are demons, and we humans are humans. Humans have hot-bloodedness, humanity, ambition, and fighting spirit. This is something that the demons can't compare to. Even though the zombies are powerful, they are nothing before the fighting spirit of the human race and the divine abilities of the Taoist cultivators. With the help of a few of my good friends and Shandao Sect Master Yun, the matter of Yong'an Mountain was easily settled. If it were you, it would have been the same. That's right. Lu Wuxia quickly chimed in with a smile. Our Misty School has long passed down a secret technique. As long as you cultivate it, you won't be taken advantage of by the zombies. At this point, Lu Wuxia's eyebrows turned and she asked curiously. Why is Yun Che also going to Mount Yong'an? Why didn't he come to Pingjiang? Sect Master Yun is in a hurry to return to the sect. Judging from Lu Wuxia's tone, it sounded like she was on good terms with Yun Che. Xiao Hua couldn't help but recall Yun Che's earlier tone. Xiao Hua smiled thoughtfully and said, The Assembly Hall has received news that the Devil Race might launch a large-scale attack on High Dawn Peak. How is that possible? Lu Wuxia smiled. Yun Che's worries are groundless. If the Devil Race attacks High Dawn Peak, they'll reveal their true intentions. Our ruins and the Devil Race will have to fight to the death, and the current situation doesn't seem to have reached that stage yet. This Xiao thinks so too. Xiao Hua nodded. But at this time, an earth-shattering explosion suddenly rang out. It was as if a giant hand had thrown the entire Pingjiang into a pot of boiling water. Xiao Hua's expression changed greatly. He looked at Lu Wuxia in disbelief. A trace of understanding flashed through Lu Wuxia's eyes. She hurriedly raised a hand and pointed. A dark green brilliance rushed into the top of the hall. Then, as if the color had faded, the sunlight and white clouds in the hall disappeared with a whoosh. A sky covered in devil clouds suddenly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. A diversion! Xiao Hua couldn't help but tremble. At this point, how could he not know what the Devil Race was planning? The demon race had spread the news that they were going to attack the Godly Knife faction. They had secretly sent their army to Ping River. While the attention of the conference hall was focused on the Xianchao Peak, they were going to attack the Misty Sect. Moreover, Xiao Hua really admired his own luck. If he had stayed at Yong'an Mountain, or followed Yun Che to Shanao Sect, it would have been fine. But he just had to come to Misty School, and just had to encounter the Devil Race besieging Pingjiang. Looking at Lu Wuxia again, it was only a moment of surprise before her eyes flashed with a stern look. She calmly said, It's actually the time for a decisive battle. This sect master has underestimated the Devil Race. Although they don't have any humanity, they also have brains. Normal cultivators know how to make a diversion, but there aren't many who can use it so well. Many elders of my discussion hall, sect master. It seems like we have to face the wall and reflect on our mistakes again. Everyone. We're here. The cultivators of Misty School all stood up and bowed in response. Lu Wuxia slowly stood up. Her eyes looked at the devil figures in the sky, and her tone was abnormally stern as she said, "The devil race attacked my Misty School with the intention of establishing their power. They want to eliminate my Misty School from Pingjiang. If we want to live, if we don't want to become the devil race's puppet, we have to fight with our lives on the line. Although the devil race's attack was sudden and caught us unprepared, how can the devil race underestimate our Misty School after so many years of fighting experience? How can we let the devil race succeed? Especially, the heavens sent Taoist Xiao, who is feared by the devil race, to Pingjiang. With Taoist Xiao and the sect master here, even if the devil race's devil emperor personally comes, you all don't have to worry. Everyone, this sect master won't say any more superfluous words. If you want to live, you have to kill the devil race. The more you kill, the more likely you will be able to survive this war. Kill. Kill. The cultivators naturally understood the importance of this battle, and didn't need Lu Wuxia to say anything. However, when Lu Wuxia specifically mentioned Xiaohua's name, the cultivators' eyes lit up. Not to mention the Fortune Gate's lightning boat's power. Who knew how many devils they had killed in the past 10 years, Xiaohua being able to fight against the Devil Emperor for more than 10 years and still survive was enough to make them feel at ease and excited. Following that, the cultivators left one after another. Obviously, Lu Wuxia had already made arrangements, and she didn't need to personally instruct them on how to attack. Taoist Xiao. Lu Wuxia's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at the devil clouds covering 10,000 li of Pingjiang. Moreover, the devil chi within the devil clouds flickered with blood-red light. She said, "In today's battle, we will need Taoist Xiao's lightning power to resist the devil race. If we can block the devil race outside Pingjiang, my Misty School will definitely reward you handsomely. There's no need to say such polite words." Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "Since this Xiao has mistakenly entered the ruins, and now that this Xiao has arrived at the Misty School, this Xiao is going to kill the devil race. This is the mandate of heaven, and it's an action that benefits both sides. There's no need to ask for anything in return. All right. Taoist Xiao, please come with me." Lu Wuxia raised her hand, and a light projection appeared in the sky. "If there is a devil emperor leading the army, I hope Taoist Xiao can help." Xiaohua nodded and rushed out of the hall with the light projection. However, Xiaohua had only flown a few feet when he suddenly thought of something. He turned his head and asked curiously, "Sect Master Lu, this Xiao has something that I don't understand, please enlighten me." "Taoist Xiao, please speak." Lu Wuxia was a little absent-minded as she released her divine sense to check the surroundings. Xiaohua also released his divine sense and asked, "Previously, this Xiao found something strange in the Eternal Peace Mountain. The Eternal Peace Mountain sect master might not be in the Tao Transformation realm, but what about his seniors? Don't tell me none of them are in the Tao Transformation realm? If they had a little bit of foundation, they wouldn't have been killed by a devil emperor, right? Of course, the Eternal Peace Mountain sect is a small sect in the southwest, and may not have any outstanding talents. However, the Misty School is a large sect in the ruins. Could it be that Sect Master Lu is the only one who can deal with the Devil Emperor? What about the other seniors of your sect?" As he spoke, Lu Wuxia's beautiful eyes fell from the demonic clouds in the sky. She looked deeply at Xiaohua and replied, "Could it be that the seniors of the 3 continents, after reaching the 9th stage of the Tao Transformation realm, they all stayed in the sect?" This? Xiaohua frowned. He really didn't know how to answer this question. After all, he was only a low-level cultivator on the Dawn Rain continent, and didn't know much about the foundation of the Imperial Thunder sect. However, from the powerful divine sense that flashed from the Imperial Thunder sect, Xiaohua knew that the Imperial Thunder sect definitely had elders at the nascent Soul realm and above who stayed in the Sky Thunder Peak. Of course, if the elders reached the Tao transformation realm and were about to undergo tribulation, they would naturally go to the immortal world and not stay in the sect. As for the hidden immortal continent, there was no such thing as a sect for Tao sect cultivators. High-level cultivators should go to the Penglai immortal realm. The situation of these two places was completely different from the ruins. There was no comparison. After thinking for a while, Xiaohua replied, "If the seniors of the 3 continents reach the 9th stage of the Tao transformation realm, they naturally can't stay in the sect. They have to go to places like the Moon God Palace to continue cultivating. As for those seniors who can't break through to the 9th stage of the Tao transformation realm, they can stay in the sect." "I see." Lu Wuxia nodded and said, "I understand. The 3 continents have abundant qi of heaven and earth, so the management of the realms is lax. That's why these seniors stay in the sect. However, the ruins is an extremely remote place in the cultivation world under the jurisdiction of the Moon God Palace. Any seniors who break through to the 9th stage of the Tao transformation realm have to go to the Moon God Palace to be selected. It's best if they can enter the Moon God Palace, but if they can't return and have to go to other realms to find opportunities. As for those seniors who can't break through, the Moon God Palace has strict rules. They can't stay in their original sect for too long. Actually, there's no need for these rules. The resources in the ruins are limited. High-level seniors consume 10 times or even 100 times more resources than ordinary disciples. For the sake of the younger disciples, these seniors usually leave the ruins." I understand. Xiaohua sighed. This sacrifice is respectable. However, in times of crisis, when the devil race invades, they can help the sect escape. There's no need to borrow the power of the seniors in the sect. Lu Wuxia answered indifferently. If the ruins can't even get rid of the encirclement of such a small devil race, then, even if the ruins are destroyed, so what? 13. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.